show. Always Irish show. Always Irish show. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. What are you doing? Don't do this to me, Harry! The Ohio State. It's Ohio State! What do you mean, the? It's a poison! I almost stroked out and died over it. I'm glad to be at the party. I'm mad we're this late. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship! That helps the defense without them even doing a damn thing! Doing a damn thing! The call-in line. 312-988-15. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Irish. Yeah, that's right. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Irish. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks. It's been a while, but welcome in to this edition of the Always Irish After Dark radio show. It just feels good to be back with my people. It just feels good to be back with my people. I missed the Saturday night window. I got back into the morning shows, but nothing has the vibe of the Always Irish After Dark show. I miss you guys badly. It's just not the same doing the morning shows as the vibe and the energy and some of the unknowns of what we may get on the Saturday night Always Irish After Dark window. I got to tell you guys, first, number one is I apologize. Life gets busy. If I'm going to take vacations or visit my family or do anything, it has to be in the summer because fall is out 7 days a week. I am working on Notre Dame content 7 days a week. There is no time, even during a bye week, to be able to just relax and chill out and take a week off. And I'm going to sit here and drink some beers and not go live this week. It doesn't exist. So if I'm ever going to do that and have any work-life family balance, it has to be in the summer. But I got to tell you guys, I miss it. I miss this window of time. I miss this group. I miss the unpredictability of this group, like everything that comes with the Saturday night, Always Irish After Dark. I miss you guys. So that's my little apology. I'm sorry that we've been AWOL. But I got to get a little life in before we get into August. And then you know what time it is. It's off to the races, baby. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you very much. Obviously, you can find the program on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate that very much. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps. It tells YouTube, hey, people like what this dummy's saying. Shoot it out to more people so they can find the program. I appreciate that very much. Notifications on that way. Doesn't matter what you're doing. You're in a boring work meeting. You're in your cubicle. You're driving a mail truck. Doesn't matter what you're doing. The notification will come on your mobile device and it'll say, oh, something rattled around in John's head. Tune in and check it out. Okay. Notifications on Twitter. Search bar, Always Irish Rat. Always Irish Inc. I got a beef with Twitter, you guys. Did you see what Elon did to Twitter today? He's limiting the amount of tweets you can read in a day. I just don't understand I don't get it. I'm not acting like I'm a programmer, understand any of that world. Like I'm dumb with technology. He's limiting how many tweets you can read in a day. And if you exceed that amount, you can't read any more tweets. So go ahead and check out Always Irish and make sure you don't look at too many other tweets so you can see mine, I guess. I got beef with that. I don't understand the business philosophy there. You're going to buy this product and then limit how much people can use it. Whatever. Anyways, this isn't the show for that, but it's unbelievable. Emails. alwaysIrishND@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want me. You can locate me. The call-in lines. You know what it is. 312-988-15. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. I love saying that on a Saturday night. Fighting Irish Wire. Booty doot doot. You type those 3 words into the Google machine. What comes out? Notre Dame informations. A lot of stories from me, Nick Shepkowski, Mike Chen, all of our fantastic staff. Check it out. Also, I'm telling you guys, the calendar burns quick in the summer. It burns quicker than my grass has been burning out, getting no rain. July 9th, that's coming up. It's next Sunday. Do you got your tickets yet? Tickets for what, John? Ohio State, Notre Dame? No, we're not there yet. Your tickets for Sam Hartman's first public Notre Dame NIL autograph signing. Oh, John, I don't know about that. Where's it going to be? Forever Young Sports Cards, Crown Point in Diana. Sponsored by yours truly. We're going to have ourselves a hell of a day, folks. Please join us. Throw some bags, talk about Notre Dame, what you're excited about, what you're nervous about, all that good stuff. Get your kid an autograph. Get yourself an autograph. Welcome Sam Hartman to Notre Dame and tell him you support him, and we expect big things from him this year. Visit foreveryoungsportscards.com for further details and ticketing information. All right. So, couple things on deck today. Obviously, your phone calls are more than welcome. I say this all the time. In the off season, I don't care what I have on the agenda, my bullet points, things that I want to talk about, whatever. In the off season, I need you to just dial it up and give me what you need. Whatever you need to get off your chest with college football, Notre Dame, all of it, whatever it is, I want to know it. So dial it up and let me know what you want to talk about. And I'm open to it. All right. So that's what we're going to do. And so we got a couple, maybe a surprise guest here from a vacation location coming up. So we're going to have a little bit of that. And I think you might be able to guess who that might be. But from a surprise location, and we're going to see what condition he's in. So we're going to do that in a second. First things first, let's bring up this call. 219, you're on the line. What's going on, Mitch?
My man, Johnny, always Irish. What's up?
I'm telling you what's up. I am thoroughly excited for next week, my friend. This is going to be exciting. There's a lot of people that I've talked to that are even some people traveling hours, and they said the combination of getting to meet Sam Hartman, get his autograph, hang out with you guys in the parking lot, have a great day. We're going to have a good group, Mitch, and I'm telling you this too. This is going to be the starting point of all the Notre Dame fever. We're past 4th of July. We're going to do this event a few more weeks. We're into camp, and it's off to the races. I'm excited. Mitch, what do you think?
You know what? It came here pretty fast, man. I feel like it was the other day we were going to have a nice burger and a conversation to talk about this idea, and we're here already. It came fast. So I'm super excited. Like I said, I think you're right. That for me, it's the start of, like, I know we're in baseball season. Baseball's getting played on TV, but for me, this really, like, marks football. Like, football's here.
Yep.
You know, this started the process of getting some other Notre Dame kids signings lined up. Like, football fever is real. Like, everyone took a breath, you know, enjoyed a little bit of your summer, but there is no off season when it comes to Notre Dame football, though, right?
Yep. I'm ready for it, man. I am ready to get ramped up. We have nothing but questions and no answers. For those who don't know, I'm speaking with Mitch LaRock, who owns Forever Young Sports Cards, where the event's going to be. Let me ask you this. Is there still tickets available? Is there still time in this last week for folks to be able to go online, get their tickets? What are we working with there availability-wise?
Yeah, there's still tickets available. And, you know, so more happy to go on our website at foreveryoungsportscards.com to purchase tickets. And then there'll be tickets available the day of the event. As of right now, we teased a handful of the jerseys we just got in. So the fresh Sam Hartman Notre Dame jerseys are in stock.
I like that. Crisp, hot off the presses. I like that.
So we got, you know, the standard navy, green with navy numbers and white, and then we threw a little wrench in there. We threw in we ordered some quarterback red jerseys as requested by some people.
Wow,
it's a little different being a Notre Dame.
That's really unique. What is that, like an homage to the blue and gold game? I like that. That's impressive. I like that. Yeah. Wow.
And then we wanted a little bit of a throwback feel, more like 70s, with the bright yellow and green Notre Dame, like more like Rudy days.
Yeah, I like that too. That's beautiful.
Which I don't want to leak too much on the show, but there's a rumor going around that jersey might come back this season. So hopefully I didn't spoil anything for anybody.
I'm telling you, dude, if I had to pick any of those alternate jerseys to do the throwback, if we're doing green, I mean, I have an idea what they are, and it's pretty close to that. I like that vintage look, man. With the striped socks. You know what I'm talking about? The white socks, but with the stripes at the top.
Absolutely.
Oh, baby. No, I love those so much. That would make my day, and it'd make my night if we topped it off by beating Ohio State. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, come on. Sam Hartman's about to throw for 350, 3 touchdowns. Make it look easy running this offense.
Oh, come on, Mitch. Come on, Mitch. You're just trying to sell tickets to the event here. You don't mean it. No, I'm just kidding. It's Mitch. Yeah, exactly. Mitch, I'm telling you, he does not have to be a hero or a Heisman winner to bring this Notre Dame offense into a new level. Like, he doesn't have to, he just has to be himself and do what he can do. And this offense should look way more robust. Able to run it on you, able to throw it on you, stretch the field. Defenses have to be honest. I am excited to see it.
I just, I'm very fortunate with my business that I get a lot of interaction with a lot of the players on the roster. And I am, whatever Audric has done this offseason, that kid has taken his whole physique and body to a whole new level, and it is real. So I'm very interested to watch this Notre Dame offense next year. I think there's going to be a lot more big play potential than in many years past. So I'm excited to watch Notre Dame have a modern offense.
Yeah, it'll be a breath of fresh air, man. I mean, we're so far removed from being able to make a defense play honest, where they can't just sell out to stop the run early and then double the tight end and then you're off the field. Like I am excited. This could be introducing the modern era of Notre Dame football and just a new way to play offense where you actually can test the whole field. I'm very, very excited about it. So the event's going to be fantastic. I'm excited to be there. There's a lot of always Irish people that I've talked to. This is the perfect union, man. They want to go get the autograph, meet Sam Hartman. As a side note, for some unknown reason, they are interested in hanging out with me for a little bit, talking to me. So it's just going to be a great day, and it should be fantastic. And this year's a big year, Mitch. It's year 2 for Marcus, but in a lot of ways, it feels like the first year. Things are a little more stable. And it's not a first time new coach thing. We feel good about the offense. There's a lot of new, even though it's year 2.
There's new parts for sure, absolutely. But every one of these kids that I talk to, that I build relationships with in my side of the business, is the memorabilia and autograph. You hear every one of these kids say they basically want to run through a brick wall for Marcus Freeman. Like, Marcus Freeman is so loved by every single player in that locker room. I don't think I've ever heard players speak as highly of Marcus Freeman of any other program, even NFL teams that I've worked with in the past. So.
Yep. It is encouraging. And that being said, there's going to be recruiting struggles at Notre Dame no matter what. You're never going to eliminate all of that. We lost the commitment of Isaiah Canyon, the wide receiver. There's all this smoke about what's going to happen with Justin Scott. Like, there's always going to be recruiting anxiety with the Notre Dame fan base. There has been my whole life. But I do feel confident Nobody's going to outwork Marcus Freeman. He might not land everybody that we want him to, but it isn't going to be because that guy's getting outworked. I can assure you that. And that gives me some comfort.
Well, and then his argument would be that, if a kid wants to choose to go to a school down south because the NIL package is incredibly beneficial monetarily, then that's the number one priority, then maybe they don't fit the program or what he's trying to build here in South Bend.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. There's something to be said for that. And the other thing with Marcus Freeman is he's so genuine. He's not going to make promises he can't keep. He's going to tell you the truth, be upfront about what Notre Dame can do and can't do and what lines they're not going to cross. And then you got to make a decision of whether that's for you and your family or not. But it's always, especially in the summer, Mitch, when you don't have actual football yet, we're not into camp. Recruiting takes the center stage, and every day we're living and dying with that recruiting. And is it good or bad, or who are we getting or who are we losing? There's never a boring day of the year for Notre Dame football. It's always something.
Well, I got two nice fat white letterheads on my computer right now. Actually, let's make it three. One to CJ Carr, one to Cam Williams, another one to Justin Scott. So let's see how this recruiting class turns up, because I'm ready to put some money in these kids' pocket and have some fun signing some autographs next year.
I'm telling you, man, that's the beautiful thing about this. And I've been telling people as well, that's what I'm most happy about joining you with on this project is, in a way, you and I could both feel like we're helping Notre Dame's football program in our own little way, finding avenues for these guys to maximize the perfectly legal NIL market space. And if you and I are able to help that mission at all, it makes me feel like I'm doing my job and I'm not just in my basement yelling about wanting Notre Dame to win, but I'm actually doing something about it and trying to help this mission out. So I couldn't be more excited to join you, man. We're going to have ourselves a heck of a Sunday next week.
Yeah, and then to tease some people next week that wrap this up, I'm going to send you some sneak peeks of some special giveaways that I think between Forever Young Sports Cards and Always Irish are going to have for the tailgate. So people are going to want to come here to make sure to get early and sign up on the Always Irish list, because it's going to be worth your while.
Beautiful, man. That sounds fantastic, Mitch. I thank you very much for calling. I'm very excited. And let's you and I touch base one more time, in the next few days, and we'll button up our final preparation and plans and make sure we're on the same page. I think we have things pretty well ironed out, my friend. I'm very excited for this. It's the unofficial start of the Notre Dame season ramp up for me and you. And I invite everybody to come along for the ride. Have a good one, Mitch. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, buddy. Have a good one.
Take care. Have a happy Saturday night. Mitch LaRock, everybody. Go get your tickets. ForeverYoungSportsCards.com. Go there. Listen, I got to tell you guys, I think recruiting might be the end of Always Irish. Like it just might finish me off. Like, I don't know what else to say, you guys. It's just nothing but stress all the time. And right when you feel comfortable, something will pull the rug out from under you. Who knows? So I wanted to get into this, and then we'll go into our guest, and then we'll take some more calls. So Isaiah Canyon is decommitted from Notre Dame. Okay. Like, I don't know what you want me to say to that. Okay. I guess. Here's what I don't understand. All right. Number one is, at least I trust the guy recruiting in that area that we're going to be okay and he'll be able to figure out a pivot and all that and the development. I trust that guy that's in charge of that group. But here's what I don't get. Kids are going to do whatever they're going to do. They're going to go where they're going to go. But when I ask or read why he decommitted, and I hear travel, I hear wanting to be closer to home, like that is what I've heard all day. I got a main question for you people. Did Notre Dame move? I don't understand. Did Notre Dame move since the guy committed? Or is it still in South Bend? Guys are going to do what they're going to do. I'm not telling them what to do. I'm not telling anybody what's right or wrong for their family. I'm not doing that. But when I hear travel in the distance is an issue, Notre Dame has not moved. It's in the same damn place it was when the guy committed. So I don't understand that. Did you not know how many hours away it was from home until now? Notre Dame hasn't moved. So, sorry, I just don't. I don't understand. That's all I'm saying. You're going to do what you're going to do. I don't know whether that's the legitimate reason or not. But when everybody I asked today to prep for this show tonight told me, oh, well, he says it's being close at home or whatever. That should have been an issue that registered to you before you flirted with and committed to Notre Dame, because it hasn't moved. It's the same amount of hours away from home. So whatever, man. It's this recruiting thing. It's going to be the death of me. I'm going to have a stroke on the air, and that's going to be it. Like, it's just too much. And then you add in the Justin Scott smoke. Have you guys been seeing that? Did you see that Rivals guy that put out on Twitter when people could actually scroll Twitter yesterday before these changes? The Rivals guy was saying, oh, yeah, there's a lot of suitors here and a lot of people interested, but I got him going to Notre Dame. That's what the Rivals guy said. He goes, I realize he hasn't even taken an official yet there, but they said, I think he's going to end up in Notre Dame. You know what my answer to that is? I will believe it when I see it, and not 1 second earlier. Nope. Been down that road too many times, okay? Not falling for it. I will believe it only when I see it. And even guys that are verbally committed, I will believe it when I see it. A verbal commitment does not mean anything anymore. And I struggle with that because the word commitment means different things to me than it does in the modern world of college football, apparently. But that's my answer to Justin Scott. I will believe it when I see it. And here's the other part of this. Historically, a guy like this and in the mix, visiting all these schools the way he is, and he was going to commit to Notre Dame around the spring game. That didn't happen. Then he was going to be a Georgia lean. Then it was going to be Miami because they were offering him a bunch of NIL. Now this week it's between Notre Dame and Michigan. I don't know what to believe. All I know is usually when there's all this drama and all this stuff, Notre Dame doesn't end up with the guy. I hope this is different. I'm just telling you from my experience, whenever it gets like this, we usually don't end up with the guy. So believe it when I see it with all this recruiting stuff, even the verbally committed guys. If you didn't learn from last year, you weren't paying attention. You can't just count those as your guys because they're not all going to be. So I would love to know what you guys think about that. Let me know what you think. Now, I don't know how this is going to go, but we're going to bring in our guest, and I think he's live on remote somewhere. Let's see what we got here, and then we'll take a couple calls. What do we got going on, Patrick?
Hey, Johnny. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing very well. Now, tell people, where are you at? At your family's estate?
Yeah,
somewhere?
I'm at my parents' lake house. I'm 30 minutes south of the Dome, here in Indiana. It's a beautiful night, a little muggy today. I got my oldest brother, Brian, sitting to the left of me. My parents were here a moment ago. They just walked away. As soon as you put me live, they took off. So,
yeah, well, I got to tell you, between you and your brothers, it's like one of you's not enough. I got to deal with multiple. Could that cigar be any bigger? What are you trying to do? Make sure you have cancer in an hour? Look at that damn thing. Looks like a big dog. Looks like a German Shepherd turd. What are you smoking?
Better not start with this Brian Kelly stuff again. I swear to God. You see the comments are calling me Brian Kelly again.
Oh God, man. Yeah, that's quite the insult. Other than to your wallet, I'll give you that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I'll take Kelly's wallet. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. Hey, Pat, let's catch up a little bit. What do you make of losing the wide receiver? I mean, he says he wants to stay close at home. What are you going to do? I mean, it's frustrating because he knew where Notre Dame was the whole time. So, and I find that hard to believe, but whatever.
that stuff happens. Like look, Aaron Lynch went to Notre Dame, and then he still left because he wanted to be closer to home. It happens.
Yeah.
So,
hey, was it
I'm
on
not,
a
I'm not
side
sweating.
note,
I'm not
Pat,
sweating it right now.
was it not weird to you to see Aaron Lynch do the old Notre Dame arc and then come all the way back to where you were watching him on Sundays play for the Bears? That was a little weird for me to see that full arc he made and then came back and I was watching him for the Bears. That was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't really watch the NFL anymore. Like the Bears are trash, but it was nice to see him playing in the NFL. I thought that guy truly wasted his career by doing what he did. But oh well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I don't know. And then with Justin Scott, I don't know if you saw it. The Rivals guy put out a video on Twitter last night. All these teams are after him. If I had to put my money down, I think it was probably going to be Notre Dame. I'll believe it when I see it. We do not have a good history with this type of profile of guy. I realize you have the Chicago connection. I realize the guy played in the Catholic League you and I both went to high school in.
Yeah.
St. Ignatius, like both of us were in that conference too. All those connections, I'll believe it when I see it, not a minute sooner.
Well, yeah, I'd agree. I don't. My brother Brian was actually telling me about it when we were sitting here waiting for you to go live, and I mean, great if he does. I've said it from the beginning. That's what Freeman needs to do. He needs to get that player. He needed to get a Keeley. He needs to get this Justin Scott. He needs that defensive line player. Once he gets one and he puts them over and they go into the NFL, the rest of them will become a lot easier to go. I don't know. Do you guys hear my parents arguing right now?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Yeah. Tone it down, Jim.
Okay, Johnny.
Hey, I want your dad to commit to the Central Michigan tailgate. Come on, Jim.
He's committed. I told you,
He will be committed for that thing.
There you go. Barb said it.
It's a nursing home, not a football game.
What's your mom saying?
Mom said Dad's going to the nursing home, not the football game. That's what he's committed to.
She probably doesn't care where he's going as long as he's not with her. As long as it's somewhere else.
Exactly. Right there.
Oh, Pat, I love your family.
I know it's good times.
I love your
no,
family.
He's going. I already told him he's going to the Central Michigan game because he's our designated driver. So he's in.
There you go.
I told you a story. He said he'll never go back there if he has to park in a white lot again. And so I said, we're parking in the library lot this time, Dad. You're going. Yeah,
it is a long way from that white lot. You may as well just pull off the toll road and just hoop it if you're doing that.
Yeah, right. You park on the side of the toll road.
Yeah, no, but it's a long way. But Pat,
Mom just asked. John's not doing his show right now, is he?
What do you think? I'm talking to Pat out of the kindness of my heart. I'm trying to get some numbers off this guy.
I know you've loved him since college, so I don't know.
She said she's known you love me since college, so she's not surprised that you might talk to me.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a fair point. So I don't know, Pat. We're in that window of the summer where it is the dog days of summer. Every fan base is in their own mind. You have a million questions you have no answers to. It's the light at the end of the tunnel, Pat. A few more weeks, we're into camp. It's off to the races. Is there anything that's been on your mind lately? We haven't connected in a while on a show.
I know.
Anything you've been thinking of? I was on vacation. You were doing stuff. What's on your mind?
Oh, there's a bunch of little girls here talking. Well, first of all, stop speeding up this summer. I got a lot more rounds of golf that I need to play. But I just think that the first of all, the recruiting class, people dogging it. I don't know why. He's got a deep, heavy class again. He's just missing those 2 or 3 top tier players. Yeah, the 5-star guy. But otherwise, he's got players that are going to come in and play football, players that Brian Kelly didn't get. So I don't know why people are freaking out about like one guy leaving and not. I do agree.
Well, wait a second. I'm gonna push back on you a little bit. Was not Marcus Freeman brought in here with that personality, with that energy, with that modern message? Was he not brought in here to land the type of guys Kelly was too lazy to even try to get?
I agree.
thought that was the point.
Well, okay, here's the difference though. We agree that Kelly was too lazy to even try to go after these guys.
Yeah.
Freeman has us in the conversation. You're in the conversation. So you got to start somewhere. You're not, you don't have the bags of money to pay some of these kids that they're looking for. They're still paying the kids. We know they're still paying the kids. So it's a process. And we said it. If Freeman was the head coach of Notre Dame 5 years ago, I don't think you have any issue. If Freeman's head coach of Notre Dame before NIL, I don't think you have any issue with the recruiting classes. I think he gets these kids to come. So there's just a new level of recruiting that he has to learn. And he's unfortunately handcuffed slightly by the university, but I think they're coming around. I think what Brady Quinn is doing is coming around. It's clear the university is paying these kids. So I think it's going to get better. Notre Dame's going to get on par, but just typical Notre Dame anything, it takes them a while.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah, you're right. And that is one complaint you could have about Notre Dame big picture. They seem to be reactionary in a lot of ways, where whatever the move is in college football, they're a little late to adapt or to join or to do it, and that's a frustrating trend. But I think you are seeing, and I'm a part of this, Pat, I think you're seeing some anxiety, because the idea was what you're losing in Brian Kelly's experience coaching in Notre Dame, you were going to gain in Marcus Freeman's energetic recruiting and the ability to land more guys. And so people are going, John, now I don't have Kelly's experience and we're now landing 5 stars. So what's going on? Ask her, what's going on?
Hi, sweetie. Well, I don't know. Here's the thing. I'm not in the room. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're planning. I just know he's trying. Like you say it all the time. He's on the jet, right? He's on the jet. He's flying. He's going all over the country. He's trying to see everyone that he can see. I think the the amazing thing, I don't know if you remember this, but this is when Charlie Weiss was the head coach, and he they changed the rules of recruiting that head coaches couldn't get on the road as much, and that hurts Freeman. So the assistant coaches get to go on the road. So that means Al Golden and Al Washington are on the road. And I don't know how that makes me feel, because they're there seeing kids and Freeman's not. So the message that Freeman gives is not, I don't know if it's the same message that Golden, or it's not delivered with the same confidence as a Golden and Al Washington based on the recruiting that those guys are doing.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. It's like I said, you just got to give him time. Everyone forgets he was a first year head coach and at Notre Dame. He's 30. He's younger than I am. He's younger than you and I are, John.
Yeah.
And so, you got to give this guy a chance. He's not walking into a Ryan Day situation or a Lincoln Riley situation where they're following these iconic coaches that have built up this amazing program where they just sit in a seat. That's not what's happening with Notre Dame. And so, it just takes time.
Yeah. And Pat, it's just time nobody wants to give. It's like I always hear and read from people, Notre Dame fans need to be more patient. It's like, we haven't won anything I care about since I was 4. How much more patience do you need for me, right? Like there is some of that. But I'm telling you, Pat, the expectation was Freeman will have no problem recruiting at a much higher clip than Kelly right away because of that energy and demeanor. It looked like for all the last class that was going to happen. It didn't happen, and it kind of poured cold water on that whole dynamic. And then you got Marshall and Stanford, so then you have the on-field part. People have anxiety. Make them feel better. I have some anxiety. Make people feel better about it.
Well, the on-field part scares me now more as well than the recruiting part, because I think the recruiting part is a process. The on-field stuff, that's, the losing to the Marshall, the losing to the Stanford, almost, Navy almost coming back and beating you in the second half. That stuff's a little nervous.
Yeah, I agree. And, maybe this year it could change that a little bit. And I think the biggest piece of this is, I say it every time to you, Sam Hartman doesn't have to be a hero to raise the bar of what's capable for this team this year. All he has to do is be like the way he was at Blue and Gold, distribute, make his reads, be him. The capabilities here are going to rise. That this offense could look like a real offense. And the benefit of that is you only have Sam Hartman for a year. But if he is what I think he's going to be, he's going to help bring those young wide receivers along a lot quicker. And that is a benefit Notre Dame gets in the future. He can help those guys develop by getting them the ball on time, in the right place, in stride. That's what I need to see.
I agree. And in the spring game, he was putting the ball on target, right, hitting these guys square in the chest. So hopefully that's what he does. Hey, by the way, Steve just sat down, and he wants to know if you remember your Scove tirade from my bachelor party.
Well, of course I remember your Scove tirade. Notre Dame got their ass beat.
Your Shane Scove tirade.
Notre Dame got their ass beat by a guy named Scove, and I'll never get over it. Freaking Scove all over the field. 90 tackles against Notre Dame.
What was his act? Was it Owen Maurice? Is that what it was?
I don't even remember how long it was ago, but I remember you should never get embarrassed by a guy named Scove, and he was all over the field. I'm still not over it. Screw that guy. Hey,
John, the thing that we didn't talk about that we probably should is Jack.
Yeah, well, Jack, what I wanted to tell you first is I really appreciate that it's getting dark over there. Every minute, everybody sees less of your face. It's a real improvement for the show. That's fantastic.
My mother. Oh, shit, here she comes.
I like that. The darker it is, the better.
You pissed off Barb.
Good.
She's going to turn the lights on, so now all the mosquitoes are going to come and get me.
Yeah, good point.
No, but I think. Oh, see, there we go. So Jack leaving says a lot. First of all, the people are like, "Oh, good riddance." You got to give the guy, just like we say, Brian Kelly deserves credit for what he did. Yeah. Jack deserves a lot of credit for a lot of what he did. Jack also has a lot of things he needs to take ownership of that he screwed up. But I think it's clear with his replacement being this NBC guy, this is all about TV contract.
Yeah.
All about TV contract.
Yeah. But see, here's what I don't understand about this, Pat. And by the way, phone calls, I see all you guys. I'll get right to you. Pat's got a family thing going on. I wanted to make sure to give him some time, and then he could go back to his family, and we'll get to the calls here. Here's the part of this.
John, this is normal. My parents were sitting around talking Notre Dame football.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I got
the part that I don't get, Pat. Here's what I don't understand. All week, I've been reading articles being like Notre Dame being pushed to the Big Ten, Notre Dame being forced to join the Big Ten. But I don't get it, Pat. I keep seeing these articles. In my opinion, I don't see that immediate pressure because, one, you have decent playoff access in the new 12-teamer. You don't get the bye. That was something Jack conceded on, but you're still going to be able to have reasonably easy access to the playoff.
Here's the problem. Number one, that can change in a heartbeat. The playoff and Notre Dame. The Big Ten wants Notre Dame. Everybody knows the Big Ten wants Notre Dame.
Yeah. And
the Big Ten finally has true leverage on Notre Dame with USC joining. Because I think that
But what's the leverage? Notre Dame could still play them every year, and it doesn't matter. What's the leverage?
Until the Big Ten stops playing patty cake with Notre Dame, trying to play nice with Notre Dame, and says, we're not scheduling you anymore until you join a conference. And I think that football game, that USC game, means more to Notre Dame than independence. As a Notre Dame fan, and we could ask my brothers and my dad, as a Notre Dame fan, would I rather have Notre Dame stay independent and no longer play USC, or join the Big Ten and play USC? I want to play USC. That's kind of the thing. Brian, your thoughts?
I'd rather play USC.
Play USC, Dad.
Yeah.
So they want to play USC.
So, but here's my thought, though. You got Bavakwa in here, and he comes with that NBC background. I am certain Notre Dame's going to get a very solid TV deal because there's nobody in America better suited to negotiate that than this guy.
Agreed.
So I feel like Notre Dame's going to be sitting pretty, whatever those numbers are, with that guy negotiating on our behalf. So if I have that guy negotiating a decent deal, and then we have reasonable access to the playoff, I don't see the urgency to join the Big Ten. So,
Oh,
like,
I
I just don't get where the urgency's coming from.
It's not there right now because the Big Ten is playing nice. It's when the Big Ten decides to put
Their ball.
yeah, it's exactly as my brother just said. They're gonna take their ball home. You're not playing our way. Then you're screwed. We're not gonna let you play USC. USC has already signed their contract. They're gonna be in the Big Ten. What does it come down to? So right now it's fine, and I think Notre Dame. I think what Notre Dame is doing, a lot of especially this new AD has said, independence. We want to keep independence, and I think that's what Notre Dame wants to do. I truly believe that. I think that's what the alumni want. They want independence, but they've already joined the academic institution that the Big Ten is in. They're negotiating a new contract with NBC, who just signed the Big Ten to $1 billion contract. The stars are aligning for Notre Dame to join the Big Ten, and trust me, that breaks my heart.
Do you believe that it is more of an issue of when, not if, at this juncture in time?
I said it a few weeks ago. I think Notre Dame, and I said maybe 7 years or so, 7 to 10 years. I think you see Notre Dame in the Big Ten.
Yeah, and the other thing with that window is the other thing with the window you just gave is that would give Notre Dame a very good test run in the new playoff format to be able to see how we fall in that. Get a better idea of how costly not having that bye is, like how often that comes into play. You would have a good test run there for Notre Dame to be able to see that dynamic, to be at that point.
And I already said though, this where Notre Dame, they could only be the 5th seed at best.
Yeah.
So I already said that if you have a Notre Dame team that's rolling and they end up being the 5th seed, and then they get the 12th seed and they roll over to 12th seed, and then they got to go play the 1 seed who's been off for 4 or 5 weeks, and you got a Notre Dame team that's really good, and they knock off the 1 seed, they'll throw that shit right out the window. They're gonna be like, no, we're not gonna let Notre Dame play a football game against a bad football team to just come into our house and whip our ass. They're not gonna do that. So if Freeman can get it rolling, and he's clearly a top 4 team, and they put Notre Dame in the 5th seed, they'll blow that stuff up real quick.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
But man, sure. Who's not excited for a December football game in South Bend?
I'm telling you, man. If the other part of that is how often is Notre Dame going to be ranked in that top 4 to be eligible for a bye? It pretty much means they have to be undefeated. And how often is that going to be the reality?
That's the hard part. That's the hard part. Right? Can Freeman put together a Georgia or Alabama like team? We don't know yet. Clearly, everything is saying that he's not able to at the moment. Everything we've seen is saying he's not able to at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going by the evidence now, you would have to say the evidence is not because of the recruiting and not landing enough of those elite guys. And I don't want to act like CJ Carr and Cam Williams are not elite talents, but it's just not enough. You need more. I need more. I need 2 of those guys with that ranking on the defensive side too. Like, it's never enough when you're going against Alabama with 9 5-stars in last year's recruiting.
That's like Charlie Weiss didn't.
Like, it's just never enough for us.
That was like when Charlie got Jimmy Clausen and Manti Te'o. Oh, it's just 2 guys. It's only 2 guys. You need more than 2 guys. Freeman is building to depth in his class. He's not getting those 2 or 3 guys at the top of the class.
Yeah. So, Pat, how do you feel about this chat? It says it's not just 1 decommitment. This class is subpar. How would you react to that comment?
What makes it subpar? What? I guess Sid Irish, what are you basing that on? Is it as good as last year's class? No, probably not.
All right. Here's what he's basing it on. His next one is this class is going to finish 15th to 18th. And Pat, I'm telling you. I did not sign up for Freeman to come here with no experience to land the 17th best recruiting class. Totally that was a part of the deal on his end. That when I was giving up an experience, he'd make up for with elite recruiting. And you can't drop down to 15.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and it's definitely an issue. But I mean, this person is guessing. We don't know where this class is going.
You know what? You're being too calm. Did you start drinking late today, or what?
I did. I didn't get out here till like 3 or 4 o'clock, and then I had a bunch of stuff to do when I got here. So I'm probably only on a couple beers at this point.
Yeah, I just felt like your
You know,
calm level is
you know what
giving me
happens though?
anxiety.
You know what happens though when I'm here and I'm around Dad. If I have more than like 4 beers, he just gets so like annoyed by me. So I got to keep it level so he doesn't get pissed off.
Well, that's very respectful of your elders, but I know you're going to drink 20 of them anyways. He just might not see it. Oh, geez. So I don't know, Pat. Everybody's just kind of worked up about this, but I do admit the recruiting angle of this is very hard for me. Callers, I promise I'm getting to you. I'm very frustrated because it does me no good to say, if Freeman was here before NIL, look, our recruiting would be awesome or whatever. But the reality is he missed that window and Brian Kelly got that window at Notre Dame. So it doesn't do me any good to say if we went back in time, it'd be so much easier for the
No,
guy.
you're right.
We're in the now and he has to figure out a way to navigate it. But at the same time, Pat, it's his job to figure it all out. At the same time, most of these other schools are not playing by the same rules we're playing by. And I don't know how I expect Freeman to overcome or counteract that.
Hey, Brian, give me another one. You know, I think that's, first of all, the whole like not playing by the same rules. Okay, are the academics a little bit harder than Notre Dame? Sure. What we're still playing by the same rules outside of the academics. Yes. Do we have to get a different? Do we have to get kids that aren't going to major in underwater basket weaving? Yes, but they could get into Notre Dame. They could play football at Notre Dame. They could succeed at Notre Dame, and you got a Justin Scott, you got a Keelan Keeley, you had a Peyton Bowen, you had all of these guys that Notre Dame was after who are top tier guys that could get into Notre Dame. So what are we saying here? But
you're not getting them, and they're not going here. Is the problem, Pat?
They're not going, but it's not to say we can't
but
get
that's like you being like, oh, this really hot girl flirted with me, but she'll never actually hang out with me or date me. How far does it get you? It runs
why do you got to bring up my college experiences?
We're going to let that one sit because we could take that a lot of different directions that are probably not appropriate for this program. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm trying to block some of that out. But you know what I'm saying? That's the frustration, Pat. Just flirting with them isn't enough. We got to get some of these guys to choose to be at Notre Dame.
That is so I said it's a success and a failure. The success is that he's actually trying to get these guys. The failure is he hasn't got them yet. That's the difference. But again, I've said you need to get this guy. You need to get this Scott. You need to get the defensive tackle. You need to get a Keeley. You need to get the guy that can rush the quarterback. Yeah. You are not going to win at Notre Dame until you have a Chris Zorich and you have those.
Nice.
My dad just said Alan Page. That's going way back machine. But you're not going to win. Ross Browner.
Jim, you're dating yourself.
Well, you're 72? 73? Oh shit, I missed a birthday. Sorry, we're having our own conversation here. But until Notre Dame gets that defensive lineman, you're not going to win. You're just not going to. You don't win in college football without the defensive line of Georgia or Alabama. You just don't.
Now, let me ask you this, Pat. Let me ask you, and I do not know the answer to this. I'm not setting you up and trying to pin you on this, but I got to ask, how big of a practical change does it make to these recruits if they see Notre Dame knock off Ohio State, knock off USC? I want to know, how practical do you think it is to expect to change guys' minds if they see you do that? Like, it has to help, but I'm asking you how much you think it does. I don't know the answer to that because there's so many other factors involved. I don't know the answer to that. John, it's got to help. I just don't know how much.
What was the thing that probably angered me the most about Brian Kelly was the absolute embarrassing blowout losses against a good team on a big stage, right?
Yeah, there was one a year, every single year. Even the undefeated years had one.
Correct.
Every damn year had one.
Right, exactly. And if you turn that tide and you win those games, and you show that Notre Dame can be for real, yeah, you're going to get those guys. Of course it helps. You can't say it doesn't help. And for 30 years, the recruiting line has been, we need you to get us over the hump. No, let's get over the hump. Let's beat somebody that we're not supposed to beat and say, look, we're doing this. You take the hump should not be, I'm going to beat Michigan in the big house. The hump should be win a national championship. That's what you need the kids to get us over on.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, man, it's really frustrating because it's the old chicken and the egg. It's like, well, if you're not getting them all to come on, you're the next guy that could get us there. If that's not working, then you reverse engineer it and you win the elite games to get their attention, but you need good guys to be able to do that. It's this whole cycle. And I feel like Notre Dame's been right in the middle for so much of the Kelly era, not able to go on either side, and living in the middle is really rough.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I always said there's two ways he's got to do it. He's got to pull one out and coach his ass off and win, which let's be honest, on the field, I don't think he's shown that yet.
Yeah.
Or he's got to really pull it together as a recruiter and get some of these guys to commit. And he's not showing that either. You know, I'm sorry. I love Marcus Freeman. I love what he's trying to do at Notre Dame, but there's effort, but there's not results.
Yeah. But it is frustrating though, when you and I both know for a fact, not everybody's playing by the same rules. I don't know how fair it is of me to blame Marcus Freeman because he can't offer pay for play and other people do. It's hard to compete with cash, Pat.
Yes, it is hard to compete.
I've seen you at the Silver Slipper. You can't compete with cash. All right? Cash wins. And I've seen you in that environment. Cash always wins. What do I expect Freeman to do about it?
Wow, you went there.
That was a wild bachelor party I had, by the way.
My dad just said money talks and bullshit walks. So, yeah, but cash wins. You're right. It does. It does. Here's the thing. Let me ask you this. All right, so Bowen, we know Bowen was a money thing. What about Keeley?
You know what I think happened with Keeley? Notre Dame was in on him very early before he rose up the recruiting rankings to be the elite of the elite of the elite. Notre Dame was one of the bigger programs that was in on him early, showed him a lot of love and all of that.
Yeah.
And then he commits to Notre Dame, but then he made that meteoric rise up the rankings. And then I think that brought in the big boys. That brought in some big suitors. And then who knows what got in the mix once that happens as far as what they're offering. Yeah, and then before you know it, it's like, hey, thanks, Notre Dame, but no thanks. Going to Alabama.
I remember reading, and this might not be true, but things I read about, it was family saying that you're going to go to Notre Dame and you're going to disappear. You're going to go to Alabama and you're going to shine. And so but it was never about money. And if that is,
why would he disappear? He'd be starting as a freshman. How would you disappear?
Well, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I'm just saying that that's where people come at when you're recruiting against Notre Dame. That's where these coaches come at you with. It's saying that, oh, you go to Notre Dame, you're not going to win, you're not going to achieve anything. You're going to be a mediocre 10-2 team. You know, that once you get on the big stage, you're going to get embarrassed. And yeah, you might be a top 25 pick, but you won't be a top 5. That's what Notre Dame deals with all the time, because they don't, outside of Quentin Nelson, who's the guy they produced. Especially Quentin Nelson was an offensive lineman. On defense, the best player, here we go, Andrew, the best player was Kyle Hamilton. But where did he go? He wasn't, he's a safety. So what I don't even remember. He was like, what was Kyle? 14. So yeah, he's not a top 5 pick. Notre Dame doesn't have those guys. And so they have no track record to show you can play with that.
And it tells you a lot.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
My dad agreed.
It's just, I don't know, man. It's just it's a frustrating dynamic. And the one thing is, it's like, The work ethic is not the issue. I trust Freeman's working his ass off here. Now, let me ask you this, Pat.
Yeah.
What would you think about not questioning Freeman's work ethic, but maybe more where he's directing some of that work? Like, for instance, people felt, well, until today, people felt a lot better about the offensive side of that recruiting class than defense. I'm not questioning the work ethic, but do you want to see him shift it more to where maybe it's needed or we're not getting what we want out of it?
Sorry. It's like D-Day here in Indiana right now.
I can hear that. It's like, what are you at Pearl Harbor? What are we doing? I can hear it.
Sitting by the lake watching the fireworks go off. No, repeat your question. Sorry.
I don't even remember it anymore, but I was mad about something.
You're always mad about something. No, you know what? Somebody asked me a question in the chat. I want to go back to it real quick. It was about if I think people are taking it where I don't like Freeman. That's not the case. I love Freeman. I am all in on Freeman. But the result of it, there needs to be proof. He was hired for a reason. He was hired to do something. And unfortunately, to this point, he hasn't done it. So do I think there's somebody better for the job? No, I don't think so. I don't think there's somebody better for the job. I think Freeman is the guy, but for how long?
Somebody just said, is Canyon's mom didn't want to fly. My question still remains. Notre Dame has not moved. I don't understand how that wasn't a family discussion before he committed. Notre Dame hasn't moved. Unbelievable. I don't know, man, but I'm frustrated because I know Freeman's putting in the effort. Oh, that was my question, Pat. The effort isn't the issue. Does he need to start redirecting some of the effort where it's the same amount, but he's finding areas that are a little deficient and he needs to keep the effort, but direct it in a certain direction? I could see that being a reality, that he's learning on the fly where to apply that effort.
Yeah, and I said this when I had my little thing with Andrew about he's got to sell out on the defensive line. If you are not getting that defensive line, you are not going to win. So if he doesn't sell out, that's where he needs to redirect that effort. If Al Washington and Al Golden are your main recruiters for your defensive lineman, Marcus Freeman, who says he's the main recruiter on every guy.
Yep.
So, this shouldn't be this. If this is the case, and he is, and he's not getting these guys, it is truly on him. But he needs to sell out. He needs to put all of his effort into defensive linemen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just such a tough spot. Like, I have these expectations of Freeman. I also don't know that I anticipated everything he'd be up against and just how hard it would be. But when I bring that up, all I get told is you're a Freeman homer, you're defending him, you're not holding him to the same standard. And it's like, I don't know how you expect Marcus to overcome pay for play. I don't know how you do that. Guys are going to want free money. Like, why am I going to go work for you for free when I can do it for money over here? It's hard to turn down. And I don't know how I expect our guy to magically do that.
But you're when you say pay for play, you're talking about guys getting the bags of money outside of NIL, right?
Why do you think we lost the 3 5-stars we were supposed to get last year? You don't think it was pay for play?
I don't think Keeley was pay for play. I think Keeley was people in his ear saying, you got to go to Alabama because that's where you're going to do your best.
Yeah, and if it's that case, I'll give you that. Just because I can't question Alabama's national championship and NFL lineage, I'll give you that one. But people were in Bowen's head. The games Dante was playing every week. I'm at Oregon. I'm over here. I'm at Michigan. I'm at Notre Dame. Like, I don't know, man. It's just, there's a lot in the mix, and it's hard for me to reconcile feeling like not everybody's playing by the same rules.
No, I agree. And that's actually Nick Saban's biggest thing right now is he doesn't think everybody's playing by the same rules. Again, always interesting to hear from Nick Saban. But it's I don't know. I don't know if it's as rampant as it is as you're kind of making it seem. I don't think guys are out there just getting bags of cash. Bowen got an NIL deal. He got a big NIL deal. And I believe that Bowen was because he did the Oregon commit, and then he quickly switched to Oklahoma. And if you remember watching the video, his dad was like, yeah, like he's getting all that money, and then his mom.
And you know what else, Pat?
Mom did not look happy.
Pat, I'm already hearing it ain't going well.
No,
I'm already hearing it's not going well, and he's already calling Notre Dame like, are you guys still
really?
interested?
I didn't hear that.
I have heard that. I've heard it. That is interesting. I do like that. All right, the fireworks are getting loud here, so once you go to the calls, and I'll chime in when it quiets down. Perfect, Pat. Have a good one, man, and tell your family, all of them. Tell your
brothers. I ain't going anywhere. We're gonna sit and listen.
I miss them, and I want to see them soon. All right.
Hey, we're not going anywhere. We're gonna sit and listen.
All right. I'll put you out, but have you backstage.
Keep me in. Keep me in.
Leave you in. All right. Go do whatever you're gonna do then. Yeah. All right. All right. Here's what we're gonna do. We're about an hour in. I'm taking a 1-minute break. I'll be back. We're going to the calls. I got a bunch of you. Andrew Gilmore, $50 holler. I really appreciate it, man. We got a bunch of calls. A lot of them are people I know that have specific angles. And I'm sure while I leave for 1 minute, Pat's going to yell at Andrew for something. So go ahead and do that.
Andrew and I were good. I'm not.
Go ahead and do that.
I do want to. So Mark with glasses commented because he's hearing the sound. I think this is funny. He goes, "Is Cotter in Chicago?"
Pat, it was in my mind, but I didn't want to be the one to do it. I didn't want to be that guy. I was going to ask, what, did you just leave a Sox game or what? Like, I didn't want to be that guy. I was trying to give the holiday some credit.
Oh, that's good.
And I only say that, Pat. The last Sox game I left, a lady got shot on the Dan Ryan 2 cars ahead of me and died. And I saw it on the news the next day.
The teacher?
Yeah, the teacher.
Wow, you were behind it? I wish I knew that.
We were right behind her, and we saw the car off to the side and all this stuff going on, and we were 2 cars behind. It was a loose bullet on the Dan Ryan. You never know, and it was that night substitute.
It's the Dan Ryan for you. There's a lot of loose bullets on the Dan Ryan.
Yeah, it's rough out there. All right, give me 1 minute. Maybe Pat, look at the chats and respond. I'll be back.
Who's got questions for me in the chat?
Why are you so weird? Answer that one. We don't have enough time on this show.
Man, I know you're gonna pee pretty quick to get that one answered.
Give me a break.
Oh, hey Steve, how you doing? Why are you sweating?
I'm not sweating.
Oh, you guys are quiet tonight. Don't get caught lacking pen. What does that mean, Jason? Man, what kind of? Oh, the cigar. It's just a Brickhouse Fuma. It's my golf course cigar. What's your guys' problem? It's not one of my. Did you like the movie Rudy? Yes, I love the movie Rudy. I'm a Notre Dame fan. Who didn't like the movie Rudy? Shots fired. Oh, you guys are killing me. Well, we'll define a major bowl game. Holy shit. Yeah. What? I guess you're right. I guess maybe they haven't won a major bowl game. Oh, I do not like Wedding Crashers more than Rudy. Wedding Crashers was funny, though. The unedited version. No, John had to break the seal. No, nobody in my family has actually gone to Notre Dame. So I'll tell the story since Dad is sitting here. What was it? It was Parsegan's first year. 64, right? So I became I'm a Notre Dame fan because my dad's a Notre Dame fan. All my brothers are Notre Dame fans. Well, 3 of my 4 brothers are Notre Dame fans. Because, well, yeah, I guess I'm one of those 3. Yeah. Shut up, Steve. So dad used to work at a gas station back in the 60s when he was a kid, and he used to listen to Notre Dame on the radio, and he became a big Notre Dame fan, listening to Notre Dame, and it just became, and then we're Southside Catholic Irish. It's ingrained. No, I am not an LSU fan. Oh, John's back. John, the fireworks stopped. Hey, there's this party going on across the lake.
Yeah.
These guys got a band. They're not bad. I could hear them all the way across the lake.
I think you should go over and check it out. All right, here's the deal. I got a bunch of calls I want to get to. JD, I want to get to you to hear about your fantasy camp experience. Pete, I owe you a call. Rodney as well. Will, Andrew Gilmore, you donated a 50, you get to jump the list. That's capitalism, baby. That's the way it goes here. So we're bumping up, Andrew. Here we go. 224, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, John? How you doing, man?
Very well. Thanks a lot for the donation, man. I appreciate it very much. And also, I want to thank you for your emails. Very, very well thought out. And I really just appreciate the time you put into breaking all this stuff down. Whether me, you, and Pat agree on everything or not, we need more people thinking of it at the level you do. What do you got for us tonight, brother?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I love Pat too. He's a good man.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, whatever.
Well, I was going to insult Pat a little bit. I was going to say that sometimes I think he thinks small. He was dogging Bosky the other day, and I was like, Jesus Christ! Like, if there's one guy that you can't criticize was Isaiah Bosky. But regardless, the reason why I was calling you, John, is that you know what? I get that we lost Isaiah Canyon's a commitment today, but this really, you're going to lose some, you're going to win some. This point of the season is all about getting ready for the season. And so the reason why I called in was that, to be quite honest with you, John, do we know what type of coach Marcus Freeman is at this point? I mean, that's an honest question. Like,
no.
Do you think he's a good coach or a bad coach? We don't know, right?
I do not think we know, but that ties into my recruiting anxiety. And the reason I'm saying it ties in is because what I gave up openly, happily, with Brian Kelly's 40 years of experience, I was balancing some of that out with the concept that Freeman was going to be an elite enough recruiter that with all that talent Kelly wasn't getting, it would be easier for him to pick up the coaching side of it. And at least while he was learning, we were getting more talent in, and then it could all get married together in a couple years. But if you're not going to have that, then you have not elite recruiting that I wanted and a guy without experience. And then that does make me nervous. Am I off base?
No, I don't think you're off base, but I think that, all right, actually, you know what? I'm going to rephrase that. I do think you're off base. I think that Marcus Freeman's recruiting has been way better than Brian Kelly's recruiting.
Yeah,
and the reason why I would say
overall,
that is,
you could do the overall blue chip rate. You could look at all that, but I'm still telling you. Wait. But let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. I know how much you follow this stuff on a deep level. I got to ask you. Even if we give that blue chip rate to Freeman as a feather in his cap and all that, fine. I still feel in my Notre Dame miserable soul, if you don't start landing a lot more of the elite, I don't see Notre Dame getting over the hump. Do you agree with that or disagree with that? Or are we going with RKGs and we got to build them up and we're doing all that again, baby? I want some MVPs and some RKGs.
You know what? I think you're absolutely right. There's no doubt about it. You're absolutely right. But actually, I think you're getting to the heart of why I called in.
I'm a mind reader.
I think that people don't understand like what star talent does to a team. Like do you remember in the late 1990s what like USC, like our biggest rival, which I want to talk about how we don't talk about USC as much as we should be talking about USC. But remember in the late 1990s when Paul Hackett was the coach of USC football and Notre Dame was a very mediocre team and they were beating USC football. And then a guy like Pete Carroll comes in and not only brings in good talent, but he brings in star talent. Like he brought in guys like Matt Leinart. He brought in guys like Reggie Bush. He brought in guys like Mike Williams. He brought in guys like Wayne Jarrett. He brought in guys like numerous guys on defense that I'm not like naming that were not just good, they were stars. Okay. And then it electrified USC. Like USC was not only a great football team, they were the greatest show in LA.
Yep.
Like that's how you start. That's how you get your team to an elite level. And so like the hope is with Marcus Freeman is that he understands talent. He's going to bring in, like, not just bring in the guys that are supposed to go to Notre Dame, which is a little disappointing because a lot of the recruits that Notre Dame has gotten this year are guys that are supposed to go to Notre Dame.
Hey,
like
couldn't I wait?
They're just like,
Andrew, couldn't I argue?
Yeah.
Justin Scott is a guy that should end up in Notre Dame. Every single thing on paper lines up. The location lines up.
Yeah.
Being in that Catholic, Chicago Catholic League that me and Pat, not the same school, but me and him were both in that league. The academics are good. He's an elite guy. He expressed an interest in maybe staying close to home. All of that should point down that toll road, baby.
You know what? I've been really honest about the Justin Scott recruitment. I think that he wants one thing, and I think his family wants another thing. So I don't think that Notre Dame has at all messed up on that recruitment. I think that he's being tempted by whatever Miami's tempting him with, and his parents want him to go to
I can only imagine.
So,
Miami has a lot to tempt you with, too, down there. That's quite the area.
So
I can only imagine.
I can't. Exactly. I can't blame Notre Dame on losing out on Justin Scott. And honestly, I can't blame Notre Dame. Like I called in and I said that Elijah Rushing was, like, I think a more important recruit because, you know what, I think you can create a tackle or a person you put the hand in the ground. I don't think you can create a pass rusher, but Elijah Rushing was all about the NIL. And so if Notre Dame's not going to do it, then you move on. But the reason why I called in was this. I'm like, this year we're talking about all this stuff about Notre Dame football, and I'm like, you know what? I don't even really know what type of coach Marcus Freeman is because like the last year was so mixed. Because like if you really think about it, he took a guy like Drew Pine. And he had 10 games with Drew Pine. He won 8 out of 10 games. And if you think about like what type of skill level,
how
I
limited
think a guy like Drew Pine is.
And not only that, but what you were working with at wide receiver too. Like you were severely but Andrew, this is the issue I have. When I say that stuff, like the roster was flawed, before the season even started. Then you with the wide receiver group and all that. Then you lost your starting quarterback and all that. Like, I can make those excuses, but a lot of people are saying they don't damn care. You don't lose to Marshall anyways. You don't lose to Stanford anyways. And then we're not getting elite of the elite top 5 recruiting out of it. What are we doing here?
Well,
that's what I get when I go that way.
Well, my thought, John, is that at this point in the year, we're getting into camp. Set recruiting aside, my issue with Marcus Freeman is to what you said. Like, we don't know what type of coach he is because, like, what I was going to try to say was that it's very much a mixed bag in his first season.
Yep.
You won 8 out of 10 games with a guy like Drew Pine, which is like, man, geez, that guy is not a Notre Dame caliber quarterback.
Correct.
With that said, I can at least name 5 games where Marcus Freeman's team was outcoached. 3 of the 4 losses he got outcoached. Marshall, Stanford, and I want to talk about USC. I think we need to talk about USC.
Are you going to add the Fiesta Bowl? Are you going to add the Fiesta Bowl in that the year before? Or are you going to give him a break?
I'm not going to add that. I'm going to give him a mulligan on the Fiesta Bowl. 3, so those, and then the 2 other ones where he got outcoached was Navy in the second half, almost blew a huge lead.
You're right.
And then the other one where Notre Dame should have lost after coming off of an embarrassing loss to Marshall, they should have lost to Cal if not for the referee calling a phantom offside penalty that changed the momentum of the game. They beat Cal, but like it was an embarrassing win in a weird way. So it's like a weird mixed bag of things.
Yeah.
So we do not know if Marcus Freeman can actually coach, and that's the whole point of 2023.
Now let me ask you this. I'm going to blow.
Can Marcus Freeman actually coach a game?
Let me ask you this:
is he a good coach or not?
This is what's been in my mind lately in these dog days of summer, and it's right up your alley. Let me ask you this: you know how you always hear about improvements teams usually make from week 1 to week 2 in the season? Like you learn what you got, you work out the kinks, you get the rust knocked off, and then you see a better, more put together, smooth operation week 2. My question is, how realistic is it? What do you expect to see from Freeman year 1 to year 2? I am supremely intrigued to know how much that guy has learned from that first year, what to do, what not to do, where he needs to dictate more of his time, his demeanor, maybe even firing these guys up, looking at what they did leading into Marshall and Stanford that didn't work. Like, how realistic is it to expect to see a big difference in Freeman year 1 to year 2 and how he coaches? Maybe it's game day management, whatever it may be. How realistic is it to expect a big jump? And the other thing is, would it even be visible to us? Or is so much of that behind the scenes during practice those weeks that we wouldn't even notice? That is a big, big question of mine, because Freeman does have to get sharper year 2.
Well, here it is. It's a mixed bag. And like going into the season, it's a mixed bag. The first thing is, like, to answer your question, how you know he's a better coach is he was actually really smart. And I really dislike a lot of these people who are Notre Dame fans who defend Tyler Buchner. And it's like, I'm not knocking Tyler Buchner. And there's a guy in the chat, I think Jason Smith, and like me and him both agree, if you ran an offense that like suited Tyler Buchner, like a Hugh Freeze type offense, or like Auburn's former coach, I forget his name, who's now at UCF, like a running type quarterback offense, that would have been appropriate for Tyler Buchner. Instead, Tommy Rees ran a pro style offense and they put Tyler Buchner in there.
Yeah.
And freaking Marcus Freeman has decided we're going to stick with this pro style offense. And so he did the one thing that, thank God he did, was bring in a pro style quarterback, a guy like Sam Hartman, who's not only a pro style quarterback, but has a million snaps underneath his belt. So that's a good thing. The bad thing is, who did they pick to replace Tommy Rees? I mean, we can blame the Notre Dame administration all day, which I do.
Well, like, what I was going to ask you
is, the Notre
Dame
administration blew hiring Andy Ludwig. They fucked that up.
Donate. No. Donate.
Yeah.
All you got to do is donate, man. It'll all be good. Just donate. You're misdirecting your energy here and your passion. Just donate.
Hold on, though.
Donate.
Hold on, though. They screwed that up. They didn't hire Andy Ludwig. At the same time, Marcus Freeman promoted Jared Parker, and the last time I checked, I was shocked. When Andy Ludwig played Jim Knowles at Oklahoma State, and I get it, like there's different players, different things, whatever. But when Jared Parker was at West Virginia, and they were not a horrible team by any means, they actually had some games like where they blew out Texas that year. It was an interesting year for West Virginia when Jared Parker was the OC. When they played Jim Knowles at home in West Virginia, they lost 24-3. They gained 150 yards. They averaged 2 yards a play against Jim Knowles. And that's very concerning to me because that's the biggest game of the year. They're playing Jim Knowles in Ohio State. Like, why are you promoting? Like, he has no resume. He has zero resume. So it's like there's all these things about Marcus Freeman that is a mystery. It's like I get it that they didn't get Andy Ludwig, but you're going to settle for Jared Parker. It's like I'm not saying that Jared Parker is going to be a bad offensive coordinator, but do not tell me that he's a good offensive coordinator. We have no idea what to expect.
Yeah. Now, let me ask
Literally, our
this.
biggest competition is blanked him, literally blanked him. I've never heard of a legitimate team getting 150 yards and averaging 2 yards.
Let me ask you this.
I mean, that is insane.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it's feasible that no matter how good Parker is or not good or average or run of the mill or mediocre at what his job's going to be, how much of that do you think could be masked by Sam Hartman just being a higher caliber quarterback than we are used to? I could see him masking some of that because I like what he could do, and he's much more capable of running a full-scale offense than what we've had recently. Right. I feel like for this year, Parker may have that shade cover from what Hartman's going to do, and then after that, the real test might come. When you have a young quarterback, you might have to develop. What does that look like? I could see a scenario where Sam Hartman makes whatever we do look better because we got a guy who can actually throw a pass and not get it knocked down at the line. How much of that plays into it?
I hear. Hey, listen, I hear what you're saying there, but I think that you're now getting to the root of my entire call. I was not going to call in, but I had to call in because I feel so strongly about the fact that we are totally underestimating how good University of Southern California is getting. And the reason why they are so good is that they have the best offensive mind in college football, Lincoln Riley. And it's like silly that we won't accept that. It's like we feel like we have to be objectively mean to whoever the coaches of USC. And it's like silly. It's like, no, Pete Carroll was a great defensive mind and a great recruiter. And then he brought in Norm Chow, and then he kicked the shit out of Notre Dame for several years.
Yep.
Lincoln Riley is going to potentially do the same thing to us, and we need to accept that. This guy is a genius offensive mind, and so what I'm saying to you is we need to be bringing in genius offensive minds and genius defensive minds to counteract a type of team that is going to always have really good players and really great teams. And so it's very disturbing to me that Notre Dame is not going to play the NIL game. They're going to say, oh, we're too good to play the NIL game because we're not going to pay for players.
Yeah.
And then cheap out and not pay for an offensive coordinator. I mean, unbelievable. It's really an unbelievable thing. It's so we're going to be inferior to USC in terms of NIL and coaching.
It's rough.
How do you expect us to kick their ass?
No, that's a big man, Andrew.
We aren't going to.
Andrew,
it
upsets me.
It's really bizarre. Go ahead. Sorry.
It upsets me how much you're in my brain. It really does, because I have been thinking about all this too. And you know what comes to mind is, I
think it's weird. I think it's weird how Notre Dame fans don't respect Lincoln Riley for something because he hasn't won a national title. It's are you fucking crazy? Lincoln Riley has brought in 4 Heisman Trophy candidates, or Heisman trophies.
Yeah.
And first round picks. And now, back in the day when he did that, it was with Oklahoma. Now we have to deal with that every freaking year.
Yeah.
And I just and honestly, John, I wanted to ask you, it's you really hate Michigan. You always talk about how much you hate Michigan.
Yeah.
I was I don't know, until I got online, I definitely did not like Michigan, but we don't even play Michigan anymore.
Yeah.
When's the next time we're going to play Michigan? We always talk about how much, I hate Michigan. USC.
It's a different kind of hate, really Andrew. It's a different kind of hate. And what I mean by that.
But do you get what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
USC,
I do.
We play them every year.
Yeah.
And when they're good, when USC actually gets things right, they kick the crap out of Notre Dame. We dealt with this.
It's cyclical. It's kind of cyclical.
It
it's cyclical.
It was depressing.
All right, here's what I want to say about this. Where my thought is, the Sunset Kid said we're a fencing powerhouse now. That's hilarious. On guard. Hey, we're number 1 at that. I love that. Here's what I've been thinking about. You know how the biggest knock from these other fan bases towards us of the people that don't like Notre Dame is people say they're turned off by the holier than thou kind of attitude Notre Dame has. The way they're operating kind of demonstrates that they are being holier than thou, charging championship prices, saying that their goal is a championship every year. But practically, I don't feel like they're doing the things that make it realistic to think that way, meaning opening up the pocketbook to spend more than you want to get the right guys your new young head coach wants on the staff. NIL, realizing that's a big deal now and you got to be more aggressive and more out front with it. That kind of stuff. That's where I start having a problem. Championship prices,
you know what, though, John?
they talk about championships, but are they doing everything to line us up to make that a reality? That's my issue.
They're not.
That's my issue.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. There's no doubt they aren't. But you know what changes everything? Honestly, man, you know what changes everything? When Tim Brown went to Notre Dame, like, did anybody think like, damn, like they're going to win the national championship? And then when it happened, like, man, did things get magical for Lou Holtz? If JJ or AJ Carr and Cam Williams, and then like the litany of like wide receivers that Stuckey has recruited, which by the way, it's like, okay, fine, Isaiah Canyon's gone. It's like that guy's going to recruit another good ass wide receiver.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
If things start turning electrifying, like that's the other thing I wanted to tell you. Like when you did that fan base video, I put out a video. I'm like, you know what? You know what changes everything about the Notre Dame fan base about like the experience at Notre Dame is like if there's electrifying players that like you go to.
Yep.
Then it doesn't matter what class you are. If you're like the cheese and wine class, or if you're the Subway alumni that I am, like you're going to be fired up to go to see them because you know what? There's one thing that Brian Kelly never delivered on, which was like a really exciting, amazing Heisman Trophy candidate where you could not miss him. Like you're going to pay thousands of dollars to fly in to go see him. You know what I mean?
You're
like,
right.
And so like, I think that you could have that in Carr, and you could possibly have that in Williams, and that could really
That's a very good point.
Really
and I want to make sure.
I
want to make sure. I did mention in that episode when I broke down the fan bases, at the end of it, I did say the number one thing to keep in mind is if the team is playing elite, physical, good, tight college football, we will be engaged every week. Every game will matter. It won't matter if it's Ohio State or Tennessee State. We're going to be electric, and we're going to be there to support you. But the product has to warrant it, and you're totally right about that. Now, let me ask you this. I've had people I've seen in the chat say USC doesn't have a defense, and that's going to be their downfall.
They're losers. I hate.
That's not true anymore. USC has a defense.
They do not remember how badly Pete Carroll kicked the crap out of Notre Dame. Like they don't realize that all USC and teams like USC and Miami, all they have to do is just do a good job of recruiting their backyard. That's it. If they do that and they have an adequate coach, they will beat Notre Dame. We have to rely on them to have loser coaches. But this guy, Lincoln Riley, is not a loser coach. We need to get serious. Like the way that Jim Harbaugh has gotten serious on Ryan Day, like, and really develop a team to beat them.
All right.
They're insane.
Pat wants to push back. Go ahead.
No,
Pat.
I don't want to push back. I don't want to push back. I don't want. It's not a pushback. It's just that the Lincoln Riley historically has not had a defense. His Oklahoma teams would give up 47 points a game, and he would beat teams 49-47. Okay. Now, to that effect, Lincoln Riley in his first year at USC, he didn't go to a BCS because he had no defense. All right. He had no defense. At the same point, he realized that it's not Oklahoma anymore. It's USC. You need to have a defense. And he went out and he fixed that in a big way. So it's not about Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll had a defense. Pete Carroll created a monster at USC. He had some of the best defensive players in the country in his team. Lincoln Riley did not historically, and he is putting a big emphasis on recruiting defense right now. So I agree with Andrew in the terms of Lincoln Riley is building a monster there at USC, and I don't think that people are overlooking Lincoln Riley as a coach per se, because he's a very good coach, but it's I had a lull there, but he's building a monster. His defense is going to be good. His defense is going to be a lot better, because they came to him and they said, dude, you can't lose to Utah twice. And at USC, you have a chance to go to the playoffs, and you lose to Utah twice. That's what he did. So, but he's fixing that, and it's a problem Notre Dame has to adjust to.
Hey, John, are you do you like history?
Yes, I do.
All right. Are you familiar with the build up to World War II?
A little bit. I'm more of a Vietnam guy myself, but I know a little of it.
Well, so like the two superpowers at that time are England and France, and they the intellectuals in England and France were for de-armament. So we'll de-arm, and then we'll make sure that everybody else de-arms as well. And then what ended up happening? Germany rearmed. Well, England and France were complacent, and then they invaded France and then almost took England. And then thank goodness America stepped up and saved the world. Okay. And so what I would say to you is this, say to Pat is that to be complacent when USC, we know USC has the talent. To be complacent and think that they aren't going to play any defense is silly to think. They are going to play some defense. They're going to load up on star players, and we better fucking get ready for it, and we better build a team that can beat it, because otherwise we're going to end up like slaves. Like we're going to end up like slaves, like how it was in the 2000s. So gear up, dude. Like we need, and like the idea that we're like worrying about whatever Michigan's doing, we don't even play Michigan. It's like weird that like people online always talk about Michigan. It's like, who cares about Michigan? We're not playing them for.
All right, let me answer this. Maybe I can clarify some of that for me. For me, it's more about the Michigan fan base and the media that I have a hard on for 24/7, 365.
Well, you should get a hard on for USC.
But wait. I do, but it's different. Like my vitriol for Michigan is more about the fan base and the media that I do not respect at all. With USC, it's totally different. Like the fan base is surfing every home game. Like it has nothing to do with the fan base there. When USC's good, it always comes up to good versus evil, our values against their values, how they do things, how we do things. And it's just opposite ways of approaching life. But there's no doubt. Listen, Andrew,
I actually disagree with you there, John. I think that Michigan is a lot like Notre Dame in a lot of ways. It's weird. Like, even though they're a state school, like at Michigan's best, like in 1998 when they should not have won a national championship, like Nebraska should have won it, but they split it. Like, I think Notre Dame could have competed pretty well with them. Like, they're a lot like Notre Dame. They have to recruit nationally. They can't rely on Michigan recruits. USC is like a total different game. Like, the people who go to USC are super arrogant, and they're jerks. They're way jerkier than people, like, at least from a class standpoint, very jerky.
Yeah.
But also the fact that all they have to do is recruit Southern California. And if they get anybody else, like if Lincoln Riley's kind of good at getting guys nationally, they get anybody else, they're a very serious problem to Notre Dame because we play them every year. It's like, I don't give a crap about what Michigan's doing. Like, I'm worried about USC, and I just think that, right. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hijack your show here. I just think that, like, it's weird online. Like, people are like, oh, his teams don't play any defense. Well, dude, if you score 50 to 60 points a game, you don't need to play any defense. Like, and like, they're going to eventually figure it out.
Utah,
if they don't. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna fire Grinch if they give up as much points as they did last year. So it's like we've got a very serious problem on our hands. We need to figure that out. But like I get, and in terms of our schedule, like US or Ohio State is first on our schedule, so let's win that damn game. But we've got a very serious problem, and it's very similar to what Jim Harbaugh faces in Ohio State. And it took him freaking 10. How many years has Jim Harbaugh been at Michigan? It took him literally like 8 to 10 years to figure out Ohio State.
8 years. Yeah, I think it was literally like 7 years.
I hope it doesn't take freaking Marcus Freeman 10 years to figure out USC, or else we're never going to sniff.
Listen, you're right, man. You're right. You don't have to tell me. I was in that stadium when Carson Palmer ripped us up. I was there for Bush Push watching Reggie, running the tall grass. Like, you don't have to convince me. My hatred for Michigan and USC are just different. It's just directed different.
I played against Reggie Bush in San Diego. All they had to do was just go down to San Diego, pluck him. Matt Leinart was from Santa Ana, pluck him. Yeah. Like, that's all you have to do is just get guys in your backyard. And if you just keep those guys there, you're really damn good. And then you put in Lincoln Riley's thing. So I just think Notre Dame fans are bizarre online. Like, they think that, like, oh, we'll beat Lincoln Riley because he plays shitty defense. It's like, well, he puts up 50 points a game. So, and then he out-coached Coach Marcus Freeman in the first game. So you better be ready, man. I'm just saying, like, I'm concerned about all that. Like, I'm concerned. I think Ohio State is the biggest team that Coach Marcus Freeman has to face right now. We've got to win this game at home. But, like, don't think that, like, USC is going to be a top 10 team coming in. Like, This is a serious freaking game. And they're going to be a top 10 team every time we play them for the next 10 years until Lincoln Riley is the coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep. Nope. You're right. Yeah. But I don't think I've ever downplayed USC. But I do.
No, you haven't.
But I do. I have more of a beef with the Michigan fans and media, and I go at them online every day, and that's an always. Have
you talked to any USC fans? Have you talked to any? They're arrogant. Little church, like it's just a weird.
I mean, I barely ever talk to them because they're always surfing the whole time, or they're in Hollywood being in a cult or whatever weird LA people do. I don't know, but Andrew, all of your concerns are perfectly valid. I do not disagree with you on anything you just said.
No. Well,
and the other thing is,
like they're up there. Yeah.
Didn't USC jump in the portal and get a bunch of defensive guys? And I heard that over half of their defense that we played last year is replaced by portal guys.
Yes.
I don't think people noticed that. They went in that portal to try and beef up that defense while they're doing that good offensive recruiting. It is an issue.
You know what's funny about that? One of your competitors who's like a recruiting website, like I remember I was like getting into it with them. They're like, oh, they're just like an all transfer team. And I'm like, do you realize that all teams are now all transfer teams? You know what I mean? Like I hate to say it, but Brian Kelly had a pretty good first year at LSU. And if you look at his roster, it was in a freaking all transfer team. He didn't take Ed Ogeron's kids and win 10 games with them. He went out and got, like a bunch of dudes, you know what I mean? Like, and so like the idea that they're going to suck because they have a bunch of transfers is like, that's silly. It's like, actually that's a problem.
Pat, what do you got? Go ahead. Go ahead, Pat.
I don't think anyone's, so Andrew, I agree with everything you're saying about USC. I think Lincoln is building a powerhouse there. I don't hear it. I don't hear anyone saying that we shouldn't be taking USC serious. My one thing is, the whole transfer thing. Lincoln Riley was in he's going into his second year, right? He's going into his second year. Brian Kelly's going into his second year. Deion Sanders is in his first year. The transfer portal, coaches building their teams through the transfer portal is what happens in coaches who just get there because they want to win early and they need to get different guys on the team because they're fixing clearly a problem that existed beforehand. What you see at Georgia, what you see at Alabama, what you see at Ohio State, yeah, they get 1 or 2 or 3, 4, maybe even 5 guys a year, but they're not building their rosters from the transfer portal. They're building their rosters from recruiting. And that's still how it happens. It's still how it works. So I'm not. Yeah, Lincoln Riley's in his second year. He's fixing issues on his defense that he had, but Alabama is Georgia. Georgia is not a transfer team. Georgia is a recruited guys, built guys.
Hey, Pat. Hey, who's the quarterback of USC?
Caleb Williams. He's a sure. He
Who won the
transferred
Heisman
from
Trophy?
Oklahoma with
Who won the
Lincoln
Heisman
Riley
Trophy?
to go to USC. But it's one player. You're talking about. Who's the quarterback at Georgia? Stenson Bennett was not a transfer.
I'm going to get another beverage. You guys do this, and then I'll be back. And then Andrew, I'm going to get to these other callers. You and Pat go at it.
Answer the question. Who are the best
Pat,
transfer players at
I
Georgia?
think it's bizarre. Like you're like a guy who loves Notre Dame history, and it's just like I think it's bizarre how like lightly people are taking Lincoln Riley. It's like, damn, dude, like all like now. So he brought in 3 or 4 Heisman Trophy candidates at Oklahoma, and now we have to deal with that every single year. Do you think that's going to stop somehow? Do you think he's like Malachi Nelson? Do you think he's figured out that Malachi Nelson isn't going to be any good? Like that's their next quarterback who's going to be their guy. Or the next guy that they recruit is like going to somehow not be
recruit
good, like the way that
you think
Tyron,
Riley
like
is
the guys like
country?
Tyler Murray, like Baker Mayfield, and stuff like that. It's like, dude, this is a big problem on our hands. We should be fucking designing our team to defend against this. Like honestly, it's a big problem. Yeah,
right. But it's yes, he's a second year head coach. He brought a lot of transfers in to make the team better. But that is not how coaches are building their football teams, especially with NIL now, and they can get all these guys to come in and pay them to come and get the guys they want because of it. It's not college football is not a transfer portal game. That's how coaches who are taking over bad programs win early, but it's not how they're going to build their programs. You watch Brian Kelly, now that he's starting to recruit, the transfers are going to go down. Georgia doesn't have a lot of transfers. Alabama doesn't have a lot of transfers. Established coaches don't get a lot of transfers.
Well, Pat, what I would say to you is that the coaches who don't want to win right away don't hate transfers. This guy's doing 2 different things. He's taking tons of transfers, and if you look at their current 247 ratings, they're a top 5 recruiting class. So he's doing the best of both worlds. That's what we have to be really worried about. And then when he eventually fires Alex Grinch, because he thinks in my opinion, Alex Grinch is not a good defensive coordinator, and then he hires maybe an SEC type defensive coordinator, then Notre Dame's in real trouble because Lincoln Riley is not going to forget how to coach offense. And I promise you, that guy Malachi Nelson is legit. And if Malachi Nelson isn't legit, he'll bring in another freaking guy that's legit. It's like people want to play for him because he makes you not only a Heisman Trophy candidate, he makes you a top 5 first-round pick in the NFL draft. And like, this is a serious problem. We need to stop talking about Michigan because who gives a crap? We don't even play them. Like, we need to be really worried about USC. They're going to be really good for a while until he decides I'm going to be the Dallas Cowboys.
Andrew, you do not get to tell me who to hate. I have plenty of hate and I can spread it around, damn it, in different ways. All right, buddy, I'll spread the hate around.
I just don't understand. I guess
I'm just saying that like we don't even play Michigan for. When's the next time we're going to play Michigan? I don't even know.
I think it's like 10 years. It's 10 years. 10 years. It's literally 10 years from now at the Big House. It's 33 in the Big House. It's 10 years.
But who cares?
Is like not to be critical of you. I just like I want all Notre Dame fans to realize like, dude, I hate USC. When Pete Carroll and his teams were dominating USC, that was a terrible time in Notre Dame history. I don't want that to happen again. Why are we underestimating?
No, wait. Here's what it is. No. Wait. I got the answer, and then and I got the answer. This is going to end the discussion, I think. Here's the answer I've come up with. Here is the answer. The answer is Notre Dame fans see what's going on at USC. They know that he's building a good team, and I don't think they like it. And it's easier to just go to downplay it than to accept the reality. I think there's a lot of that going on in this fan base where
No.
they're going, oh, I'm not worried about it. Or
I'll tell
we
you.
know they have a good defense, but I'm not worried about our offense, but I'm not worried about their defense. I think there's a lot of Notre Dame fans coping, convincing themselves, saying they're not that good, they're not building a monster and all that to make us feel better. I see a lot of that. I think I see that going on.
Here's my thing
You're
with it.
right, dude. You're
Hold
right.
on. Hold on, Andrew. Here's my thing.
John.
I
I
don't-
apologize to manipulate so
No,
much time.
Andrew,
and
Andrew.
You're absolutely right.
I
Yeah.
do. I think there's a lot of coping going on where Notre Dame fans deep down, it's like me with Michigan recruiting. It really bothers me to see them recruiting on an upswing, but I have to admit they're recruiting a lot better, and it looks night and day from the last couple years. And it bothers me, but I have to address it and admit that it's real. I think Notre Dame fans are convincing themselves not to worry about USC to make themselves feel better about it.
You know what?
I see it. I see it online.
Hey, I'm gonna leave this, and then please take another call. Don't fret over Michigan having a good recruiting class, because I think Michigan is super similar to Notre Dame, and all you have to do is demonstrate success, and then you get good recruiting classes. So it's actually
a very good point.
Like,
well, and Andrew,
yeah.
it also helps when your head coach isn't interviewing for NFL jobs, on the verge of the playoff and shit too. Like it also, that I do think that's a part of it. It does help when you have the security to know that the guy you think you're playing for is going to be there.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it does. But
exactly
you got you have a very good point. Some of it is that Harbaugh NFL thing dying down. But you cannot deny the power of beating Ohio State and winning the Big Ten in back-to-back years. No matter what we all think is independence, that carries weight, and it has to help in recruiting. It does.
Of course. It's a huge talking point for them. You know what I mean? And so it's that. But that's a good thing, because at Michigan's best, when they were their best over the last 30 years, they weren't that much better, if not any better, than Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So
but it's the structure. But it's the structure of the Big Ten and the scheduling and all that. Yeah, I get it.
But I just think that even still, they're not paying for play. When's the last time you heard Tennessee paid that California quarterback $3 million? Apparently, that's the story to come play. You're not hearing that stuff out of Michigan, but they are having a good recruiting class. So this is good news. Results count, and I promise you, Jim Harbaugh cares about recruiting. So it's but he's got to beat Ohio State, and so now all of a sudden he's having really good recruiting classes after he beats Ohio State. So that's it. And I'll let it go. I love Pat. Pat's a good man. I think I'm smarter than Pat, but you know what? Pat has good points.
I like that. That's beautiful. Yeah. And Andrew, thank you very much for the donation as well, man. Goes a long way. You know what you just did? You just paid for your own phone conversation the last 42 minutes. Good job. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I love you, John. John, you're the best in the Notre Dame business, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Happy 4th of July. Don't blow off your digits on any fireworks. All right, buddy. Have a good 4th of July. Relax. Andrew, relax. Have a couple cold ones. Sit out, watch some fireworks. Don't think about football, and then we'll get into it, buddy. Thank you very much for the engagement.
Hey, tell Pat, Buddy Ryan might want to be the defensive coordinator one of these days, dude. I love it.
Beautiful. Give me that cowboy hat, baby. Give me that old cowboy hat. I like that. Have a good one, Andrew. Thank you.
Love you, buddy.
See ya. Have a good one. All right. Pat had something he wanted to bring up.
I don't.
Hold on, Pat. I feel bad. I'm going to DJ, Pete, Rodney, Will. I'm getting to you right after Pat finishes his comment. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pat. Quit talking to your family.
My only point is I don't understand why he keeps saying people are looking past USC. If you listen to the show, especially me, I'm always talking about USC because I hate USC. And I want to beat USC.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that is looking past USC.
No, wait. Pat, I have seen this on Twitter. There are a lot of Notre Dame fans downplaying USC, and I feel like They see what's going on, but they want to convince themselves it's all offense. They have no defense. We'll get them this year. I have felt what Andrew said. I honestly am telling you, I've seen online where I go, some of our people are really dismissing USC here, like they only have offense. Nobody will get them this year. I have felt like our own people are underestimating them to make themselves feel better about the game this year. I have felt that.
There's a different reason for that, I think, because USC has been down for so long. People don't pay attention to USC. And the perfect argument is, what's the bigger game, Ohio State or USC?
Wait, after what happened when we played them last year, how can any Notre Dame fan not be paying attention when Mr. FU on his nails clowned us?
Because
what? That was a one and done. The guy's coming back. What Notre Dame fan wouldn't register that that's an issue?
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, are they? All right, hold on. I got to take care of it. My kids are fighting. I'll be right back.
Let them fight. They're grounded. What's he doing? Can I take a call or what? What are you refereeing a kid fight?
Yeah, they're good. They were just thirsty, and apparently they had a fight over the water bottle.
Well, give them a Miller Lite. Tell them to split it.
No, they're good. It's what's the bigger game to win, Notre Dame or USC or Ohio State? It's always USC. It is always USC. But people have been saying it's Ohio State because for some reason that's going to build the brand. It's USC. And if you're not paying attention
no, you're off base on this. You're off base on this. The reason you're off base on this is Ohio State comes first. And that is the direction in the schedule. It comes before USC. So before you worry about USC, it'd be nice to beat Ohio State and then have that arrow pointing up. This is not neutral ground. The schedule matters to Notre Dame fans, and they see Ohio State as the number one, first of the three big three, and therefore they're putting more weight on it because of the directional nature of that arrow of the result of that game that's going to influence the vibe of USC. That's why. It's not neutral ground. Where they're at in the schedule matters. That's why you're getting that.
What good is beating Ohio State if you lose to USC?
What
good is beating Ohio State if you lose to USC? I will happily
one
take
less loss. It's better than losing to both of them. It's better. One loss is better than two. How about that as a mathematical answer?
And I don't agree.
One loss is better than two.
I don't agree that Ohio State is a better team than USC. I think USC is a better team than Ohio State, especially this upcoming season with what he's done to that roster. USC is going to be a better team. USC is going to be a better win on the schedule. And by the way, you can't lose to your biggest rival 2 years in a row as a new head coach. You can't do it.
I agree with you, but you are discounting where they're at in the schedule. Ohio State is the game that sets the trajectory of the Notre Dame season. That's why people are looking at it different. It's not neutral.
I don't care.
Pat, if you gave me all these teams Notre Dame's going to play, where do you rank them in importance? But they weren't in a calendar. That is a different discussion where I'm with you, USC all the way. You're discounting what that Ohio State game means for the trajectory of the whole season. That is why Notre Dame fans are putting weight on that game. It's the first of the big three. That's why. You can't discard that.
Sure, fine. It's the first of it. But if you are not improving Notre Dame if you don't beat USC.
I agree with you, but how much of the Ohio State result is going to bleed into USC? Meaning, if you play good and beat Ohio State, you're trending straight up. We all feel better about USC. And if you don't, then you have all these doubts. I just think you can't discard and discredit where it's at in the schedule. I get why Ohio State's a bigger deal right now. All right, these people have been waiting, Pat. I'm getting to the calls. Let's get to the calls. JD's up first. Pete, I got you next. Rodney after that. What's going on, JD?
Hey, what's going on, John? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing very well. I'm really sorry to make you wait. We kind of got off there for a while. By a while, I mean like an hour. JD, I got a couple questions for you. Number one is, I would love to know anything on your mind with recruiting, what's going on with Notre Dame in the summer, where your mind's at. But I also know you were recently at the Notre Dame fantasy camp, and I would love for you to tell the group what that experience was like. I've always wanted to do it with my bad back. I'll probably be crippled if I did. Tell the people what that was like.
So what you want me to tell the fantasy camp or go with the Notre Dame stuff first?
Whatever you want to do, man. It's your dime, your dollar, baby. Wherever you want to go. But I do want to hear about the camp.
I want to go with the camp first because that's what I'm most excited about to talk about. So when you go to sign up for it's pricey. I'm gonna be real with you. It's a price.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it's worth every cent, and they take care of you and make sure it is worth every penny. Like some things you do, you go, man, I paid too much for that event, or that. No, this, I promise you, you get your money's worth. And what you get from this experience, there's a lot of experiences in life you have. Like I went to the Holy Land once for a Holy Land trip. I can't explain to people how it was. You try to tell people, like show pictures and tell stories and all that, but to actually be there is one thing. And that's the same thing with like going to Notre Dame for this fantasy experience. You almost have to be there just to experience it. But Coach Freeman, I have so much more respect. And I mean, I've already supported him and respect him anyway, but just after this fantasy experience, as much time as he put in to us there was incredible.
Yeah.
And
so
he was,
what?
all
tell
the coaches,
me. I want you to tell me, what was Freeman like when he spoke to you? Did he come off the same way it does to everybody publicly, open and very just genuine, and wanted to be there? It didn't seem like it was an inconvenience for him to have to come by and talk to a bunch of 40-year-olds that want to wear Notre Dame gear. Like what was the vibe like?
Oh yeah, that was the best part. Like you could tell he's real. Like, and John, you know enough people. I've known enough people in my life. You know who's real and who's just putting on a show.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was 100% real, and he treated us like we were like going to be players. Like he hyped us up and gave us, like a speech before the game, and then when we had the day before, like he was fired up. Like he got us like fired up, like we were playing, like we were going out there and we were actually playing for Notre Dame and going to be playing for him. And It was the coolest thing. And it's actually to see him and that part of him as a coach that you never see on TV. Like the stuff he would say, I'm like, oh, I never seen this part of you. All I've seen you on is like, TV things on ESPN, all this, and on interviews. And, after that, but to really like hear him talk and there's one instance I talked to him for 15 minutes. We were talking at the awards thing for 15 minutes. He could have said, hey, JD, I got to go talk to the next person. No, we're sitting there talking football and everything. And he was just, anytime you asked for, and all the coaches and everybody, the support staff, the people that ran the thing, it was so organized. Every single coach took time. If you asked them questions, they sat there. I mean, we ate with them. We talked with them. They helped you. I mean, they were just so involved and like excited for it. Like these guys, I mean, these coaches were fired up about the event, and they said it's one of their most favorite things to do because they enjoy meeting people and, excitement of us as Notre Dame fans would bring to the event.
Wow, that's awesome. So if anybody wants to do it, we got some firsthand experience here that it is worth it. You did tell me the number when we talked on the phone a couple weeks ago. It is pricey, but if you have the money and you're a diehard Notre Dame fan with that Rudy type dream, this is the thing for you. JD, what do you think about Notre Dame right now? We're in the middle of the summer. There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. Everybody has questions we're not getting answers to. Recruiting is kind of up and down week to week, and how you feel about it. Where are you at right now overall with recruiting coming into next year? What do you feel? What do you think? Tell me.
Okay, so I'm kind of go back into the camp part just because a little bit, but I'm not. So at one point in this camp, we get to go eat dinner with the entire team. Like literally the entire team. You sit in the table with so many players, and then you get to walk around and talk with the players and have a conversation with them. I talked for Bowen, good solid 15 minutes. Estime and a group of running backs and a couple of other guys, I talked for about another 20 minutes. Gabriel Rubio, I talked to him for about 30 minutes. And I mean, these guys are ready for this year. And just the way they bring themselves up and just the way they handle themselves, they're ready for this year. So as the team is right now, and just how I've met Coach Freeman, I think there's going to be big things with this year's team. And Hartman was awesome guy meet too as well. And I hope everybody has a chance to go to your event. And congratulations on getting to do all this stuff.
Thank
and how
you.
Your channel's expanding. But for real, Hartman's an awesome guy. And I got to meet him and got a picture and autograph and stuff. But just if everybody has an opportunity, definitely get to that event because he's worth every penny. And he just had that swagger. He had the swagger like, I'm going to lead this team to the national championship and I'm going to win a Heisman doing it. Like he walked around like that. And that's what I want to see from my quarterback.
Yeah.
I want him to have the keys to hey, here's the keys. Take us there. Like I need that quarterback to walk in that, especially as a transfer, not like he wasn't doing it as a cocky way, just like he had that. Like when you meet him and you'll see, you'll be like, man, this guy is about to take us to he's going to win games for us. Like, I mean, that's just that way he just approaches everything. Like you could tell he's all in, and that's, he can tell he's going to, control the locker room and just everything. The guys will follow him if he leads them. And, the recruiting wise, again, by meeting Freeman, how any player can say no to that man is beyond me. And that's why a lot of it has to be with money or travel or distance, because I mean, I'm telling you, with his personality and the way he talks about football, I don't understand how any kid can just be like, no, thanks. I'd rather play for somebody else.
Yeah. Nope.
Like there has to be some, yeah.
Yeah. That's good to hear. Yeah, no, it all lines up. It's just, it's a big year, man. It's year 2, but it feels like year 1 in a lot of ways. And I have anxiety about it, man. I want Freeman to succeed. I want him to take a big jump year 1 to year 2. What are you thinking? What are you feeling about recruiting? Is it up to what you expected from a Marcus Freeman recruiting effort, or did you expect a little more? Or what do you want him to do about pay for play when we're not playing by those rules? Where do you fall on Notre Dame's recruiting effort right now?
Recruiting effort, they're doing everything they can. And I mean, we've talked about, you've had a lot of talks with this, and we're all in the same boat where, about the money situation and all that stuff. But Freeman and all these guys are going all out. And the good thing, I mean, and we are striking out on people. But when you look at the offer list, and it's Georgia, Notre Dame, all these big Alabama, and we get beat out by these guys, it's not like we're getting beat out by, Duke and all these other places and that. I mean, no, he's right there, having a chance to get them. And, it's just, I mean, his hands are tied with certain things, but I mean, I think they're trying.
Yeah,
and I think the biggest thing is this year we just have to win.
Isn't that the toughest part,
Yeah.
JD? Like the effort's not an issue. I know the mileage he's putting on that private jet, but it's like when you come up against cash, I don't know what you expect the guy to say to make that not resonate. And I just don't know how Notre Dame overcomes that issue and isn't a hostage in the 11th hour of every recruiting window to pay for play or big promises of NIL or whatever if we're not in that game. Like, I want to hold Freeman accountable for the recruiting, but I also acknowledge it isn't all level. We're playing by different rules. So I'm in a very uncomfortable spot.
Yeah. I think the only way we are going to consistently get these 5 stars and people that are going to decide, okay, I'm going to Notre Dame, we have to win. And not just win 10 games. We have to make the playoffs this year. And we have to show everybody we either have to go 12-0 or 11-1 this year. And we have to make the playoffs.
Ooh.
And that 11-1 and that 11-1 has to be, we were right there, lost at a field goal.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
Yeah.
Because, hey, so that way when you go into recruiting and Freeman goes, hey, you should come to Notre Dame and all this, and the guy goes, well, these guys are offering this money and this. He goes, yeah, but I've just got us to, 11-1 in my second season or 12-0, and now we're in the playoffs. And I can, and we need to get guys in the NFL. We need to get guys getting drafted high, and we need to win. So that way these players might be like, you're right, because, I might not take this money now because Notre Dame is winning, and they're putting guys in the NFL up in the first draft, and then, getting up there and having a guy in the Heisman finalist, things like that. And be like, okay, I'll decide, you know what, I am going to go Notre Dame, because a lot of kids are probably like, man, I love Marcus Freeman. I love Notre Dame, but this bag of money, it's hard at 18 years old to be like, yeah, I'm not, I'm going to do that. So, but if you're winning, you might look at that money and go, man, I know he's going to get me to the NFL. I'll get my money then. I can get a little bit of NIL money, and they're going to be playing for maybe playing for national championship, making playoffs. Oh yeah, I'm going to Notre Dame now. That's what is going to give us over the hump. That's the only thing that's going to get us over the hump, because there's no other way. With everything else, is hands tied.
Yeah.
The only thing we can do is win and get to the playoffs and figure out how to do it. That's why we all watch college football. If college football was just every time the main, the highest ranked team wins, we wouldn't watch. It wouldn't be fun. Everybody would know the outcome. No, upsets happen. These teams win. This team turns it on. We have to be that team. I don't care if we do trick plays. I don't care if we do this or that. Figure it out.
Yep.
Figure it out.
It's a very
good point.
To
win the games. I don't care if we win by a field goal.
Yeah.
Win the game.
It's a very good point. Let me ask you this. This has been an ongoing topic all offseason, and me and Pat just debated some of it. Where do you put your focus? If you had to pick one win and one loss, this year, would it be Ohio State or USC? And where they're at in the schedule is a big deal. That Ohio State game, I've been saying, is the directional arrow of both programs this year. Maybe not long-term, but for what's capable this year for both teams, that is a big damn deal. And USC, like we've all mentioned, we play them every year. How would you weight that if you had to take one win and one loss this year on each of those teams?
I 100%, 120%, 150% take the Ohio State win, and here's why. If I had to choose, of course I want both wins, but if you make me choose a win and loss, you have to go with Ohio State, and here's why. Ohio State is first. If you win that game, you get the excitement from the crowd. That gets them fired up. You get the excitement of the recruits that you have all coming, for their visits and official visits and all this stuff. And now all the way to the season, everything's Notre Dame this, Notre Dame's that. Notre Dame is 11-0, and USC with their schedule, 11-0, both undefeated. It's game day is going to be there. The fans are going crazy. Tickets are going for $1,000 a piece.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman's on TV, this and this. And all these recruits are like, man, Notre Dame is right there. And yes, if we have to lose that game, then it's like, man, they're right there. They win 11-1. They're going to make either the playoffs or they're going to make a bowl game, or a big bowl game. You have to take the Ohio State game, because if you go in there and you lose if we lose against Ohio State, now the crowd's going to be like, oh, great. Now we're going to blow against, Clemson. We're going to blow it against USC.
Yeah.
I'm not going to waste my time and go to the game. I'm not going to get excited for that game.
Yeah.
The recruit's going to be like, here we go. It's just like another day. They're going to blow it against the big games. They can never win that. You have to beat Ohio State this year.
Yep.
Where they're at in the schedule.
Yep. Nope. That's a fair point. Now, let me ask you this on top of that. It's great. Pat found one of his college girlfriends. That's great. Let me ask this. I couldn't help myself. All right, let me ask you this.
Hey, this is my puppy. This is my puppy.
Yeah, I bet, Pat. Yeah, you're used to those dogs. Oh, all right, let me ask you this. What is the minimal record required, JD, for you to feel like things are trending in the right direction and Marcus Freeman's figuring it out? Is it 11-1? Is it 10-2? Does it matter what happens in the big three, regardless of the rest of the record? Like, what is it going to take record-wise for you to feel like we are trending in the right direction and you're feeling good about things after this year? What is that threshold in terms of record?
Oh, nothing less than 10-2. Nothing less than 10-2.
That's kind of where I
think
felt
11-1, but 10-2, because at 10-2, you did at least beat one big team. You either won at Clemson, you beat Ohio State, or you beat USC.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got at least one of those. You got that over the hump thing where you're like, oh, you can't, but you can't go anything less than 10-2.
Yep.
This year you have with the quarterback, everything has to be 10-2. This
Man,
year.
I agree with you.
Yep.
I have that on my bullet points that I have all these notes for the show. I haven't looked at one of them because the show has a life of its own. On my list of things, it was literally my feel of the fan base. And I feel I'm uniquely qualified to talk about this because every day I measure the temperature where all the Notre Dame fans are at all these shows. 10-2's it. 10-2's it, man.
Yeah.
Like that is like the line. You're back into double-digit wins. You're back into a new year bowl game scenario, all of that. I agree with you. And so if I had to guess, I'm going with 10-2 as the most likely outcome with flexibility up or down a game. That's where I would be. And if you go down a game, people are going to be really pissed off. And if you go up a game, you're 11-1, maybe in the playoff, and it's a really solid, great year. I am with you at 10-2, right on the dot.
Yes, absolutely. And that, I would still be okay with 10-2, but man, 11-1 or 12-0 would just be, talk about some excitement.
Hey, if you went 12-0 with this schedule, with those big three that are each, if they're not favored, they're the number 2 team favored to win their conferences. That's the other thing, JD. Notre Dame, nobody wants to ever give Notre Dame credit for playing all these different teams in all these different conferences that play different styles of ball spread out all over the country. Nobody ever wants to recognize that with Notre Dame. That is a uniquely Notre Dame challenge. And you have Ohio State either favored or number 2 to win their conference. USC's favored to win theirs. And then you got Clemson. That is a very uniquely Notre Dame challenge. I can't wait to see how it's going to go.
Yeah. And I mean, we got to have this on our schedule. We have it pretty good. We do have USC and Ohio State at home, and that helps. Like, it'd be worse if it was like we had the schedule and it's at USC, at Clemson, at Ohio State on the same year. So we have a chance. I mean, we kind of schedule wise, it's okay. I mean, at least like the home games wise, but I it's going to be an exciting year.
Yep. Nope. Hey, JD, it's going to be fantastic. Listen, man, are you guys going to be able to make it to Central Michigan for the tailgate? I'd love it if you could. That'd be great.
Oh yeah. I will not. We already got the hotel, the Airbnb. I'll be up there on Friday, either Saturday, and then I'll stay Saturday night too. So definitely going to be at the party, the tailgate. Don't you worry about that. So 100%.
Beautiful, man. Hey, listen, it was really good catching up. I owe you a private phone call, by the way. I haven't forgot about you. Because there's some stuff I want to talk. There's some stuff I want to talk to you about. But thank you very much for the call, and tell your wife, Carrie, I miss her as well. Can't wait to see you guys in a month and a half, 2 months. I'll see you.
Yeah, sounds good. And one more thing I want to end with is one thing Marcus Scrimmage told us, and one of his sayings is, if you ain't Notre Dame, you ain't shit. Go Irish.
I like that, JD. Thanks a lot, man. Have a good week and have a good 4th of July. Hey. Don't blow your digits off. That's my message to everybody. I don't want to see any firework injuries. Oh, let's see what Pistol Pete's got for me. Maybe. What, did my computer freeze? Come on. Pistol Pete, what's going on, brother? What's up?
John, how's it going?
It's going very well, man. Hey, I'm sorry to make you wait on the line that long. It's just each of these Saturday shows has a mind of their own. I never know where it's going to go.
I hear you. Well, I can say I'm very excited to see you next Sunday at the big event at the Hartman signing. And I'll say this, for anyone who's on the edge about making a decision on whether to go or not, I've been to at least 10 of Mitch's signings at Forever Young Sports Cards. He does a great job. And if you're on the fence deciding, it is well worth it to go. And, of course, I know everybody who listens to the show will know, John, you will give great entertainment there too. So it's a win all the way.
Yep. Pete, the way I'm looking at it is it's the unofficial start of the ramp up to the season. Usually it's reserved for the week that camp opens in early August. But with this event and it being Sam Hartman, the main cog, the most important individual position in all of sports, that guy, this is going to be the initial kind of ramp up to this season and build all that energy up. So yeah, I can't wait to see you there. And I know you're friends with Mitch and myself. Good liaison between both of us there. It's going to be a great time. Pete, let me ask you, man. I know you think about Notre Dame every day, all the time. It's always on your mind. You text me all the time with the different ideas and questions. And what do you think about this article or that article? What is on your mind right now in the dog days of summer? Is it recruiting and where that's all going to fall? Or are you already looking at the games? Like, where is your mind at?
All the above. I got, well, for recruiting, like you said, I would love to have Justin Scott come, and as well you and any other Irish fan, but I'm in the same boat as you are after what happened to us with Keeley and Peyton Bowen last year. Until he is basically signed, it's going to be hard for us to just take it what a recruiting analyst says is their projection.
Yeah,
that alone ain't enough.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it when it comes to Notre Dame recruiting. That's for sure. But it's not effort, and that is a difference from now to the Freeman era. It's not effort. So I know that the effort's being put in, and I know that the dedication Freeman has to recruiting. Do you feel like maybe he should shift some of his energy? Like, the effort's always there, but do you look at it and be like, man, the defensive side, it seems like it could use a recruiting boost. Maybe he needs to be more involved on that side? Or like, how do you look at that?
That's a tough one because, I mean, I don't know how much I'm thinking he's at least involved on all of them somewhere across the board, but the ones for offense, I mean, for what he did, if he's done it to help get them, then it's hard to take the shift away from him because he's getting good offensive players. I mean, unfortunately, with Canyon committing, it's another way that there's nothing he could have really done about. Like you said, Notre Dame did not move.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the deal is there, but I don't want to act like Notre Dame has a ton of proven depth on the wide receiver chart. I don't want to act like that. But right. I do believe in Chancey Stuckey and his recruiting. I think he'll be able to find a pivot and we'll be able to make it through this. It's just, I always say, most news that comes out in the summer for Notre Dame is not good news. Like, I went into the summer saying, I don't want to hear anything other than new commitments. I don't want to hear about anything else. No injuries, no guys having legal trouble. I don't want to hear about nothing except for commitments. So, but Freeman's effort is unrivaled. It's just a matter of if that can pay off. I can't expect Freeman to overcome fat NIL or pay for play that we're not willing to do. And I feel like last year that came into play at the top end of our recruiting class. I can't blame Freeman for that. I don't know what you want him to do about that. He can't solve that.
Right. Well, and added to is, unfortunately, we know nothing against Jared Parker, but that whole thing with Ludwig was not Freeman's fault either.
Yeah, well, there's absolutely nothing he could do about that. But listen, Pete, I got people in the chat saying this is BS. Freeman lost Canyon. Quit saying it wasn't his fault. Freeman sucks. He's not a good recruiter. I don't agree with that. I just don't agree with that.
I don't either. I mean, he can't change the distance between South Bend and Georgia.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dude, I'm getting triggered here. This guy keeps telling me, John, stop making excuses for Marcus Freeman. I don't know what any Notre Dame fan expected Freeman to do the 11th hour of last year's recruiting class when our guys started to hemorrhage out and you lost the top guys or whatever. And I know NIL and all those promises were a part of it. How do you want Freeman to combat that when he is not able to offer equal amounts of money or promise things? That's not a Freeman issue. That's an administrative issue. Those are different things. What do people want Freeman to do?
That's very true. And also, I'm sure very much you'll agree with this, for all those guys there that we've lost, with Kelly, we would have never even been in the conversation.
Pete, you bring up a very, very astute point. Think about it. You're only in the media and social media for losing a high-profile guy or not getting his commitment to begin with. If you are in the race at a severe, deep level, you are absolutely right. Kelly wasn't going for a lot of those guys, so you didn't have the negative headline of Notre Dame didn't land a guy because he didn't have you in the race enough to be even in the position and not land the guy. You're right.
He would, yeah. I mean, he wouldn't have started recruiting him until their senior year.
Too late, especially with the quarterbacks, Pete. He did that with quarterbacks a lot. I got a spider dropping down a web right in front of my computer here in the basement. It's not that snake I was worried about.
I was going to say, it's better than the snake, right? You take the spider over the snake.
I blocked that door to the sump pump. The snake's locked in there if he's down here. But I got a spider crawling down off the ceiling. Anyway, sorry, Pete. I got distracted by this tarantula.
Now, I was going to ask you, now, are you still looking at possibly getting a wooden horse or a flame spear and painting, I mean, some facial tattoos or yourself red for the opening night game when Kelly faces Florida State?
Listen, man, I knew you were going to bring this up. Here's what I'm going to tell you. In no point in my life did I ever think I was going to be backed into a corner to have to root for Florida State and support Florida State. But if it's opening night and it's LSU Florida State, Pete, I'm going to be on the couch. I am. I'm going to do it. I'm going to light a spear and throw it through the living room window. You leave me no choice, but I got to go for Florida State on that one. I'm not proud of it. I don't appreciate being backed into this corner, but if it's between Kelly and Florida State, I guess I'll take Florida State, but I don't like doing it.
Are you going to get the wood? Are you going to get a wooden horse too?
I'm getting a real horse. I'm not getting a wooden horse. I'm going to rent a real horse and ride around the neighborhood, damn it. There is actually a farm family, like a family that lives on the other side of the neighborhood, and they got a couple horses. I might rent one of them and ride it over here. I don't want to be in that position, Pete, but I can't root for Kelly week one out of the gates. All they'll do is blow up his ego more. And I don't need that. It's big enough.
Well, and I mean, the good thing is also that game is on its own separate day where you won't have to flip the channels or miss Notre Dame playing to watch that game either.
That is a very, very good point because it's, what is it, Labor Day weekend or whatever? Is that the Sunday night game? That's beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be prime time. It's very dire times when I am in a position to fully support Florida State on something. If there was ever that moment, it's going to be this one. Pete, you've been a Notre Dame fan a long time. I know I've gotten to know you. I know how diehard you are with this stuff. I'm going to ask you the same question I've asked the other callers. If it comes down to you can only win one of these games this year, in the schedule the way it is, Ohio State, USC, what are you picking and why?
Boy, oh boy, that's a tough one. I mean, I guess I'll have to go with the Ohio State just to kind of, because it's the first one where you want to build momentum.
Yep. See, it's tough, Pete. It's a very uncomfortable question to answer, which is the exact reason I'm asking it. It's very uncomfortable. If you gave me USC, Clemson, Ohio State, and you didn't tell me where they're at in the schedule, I would say USC means the most to me without a doubt, no matter what, whatever. What changes some of this is where Ohio State's at in this schedule. It is the directional arrow of the momentum of the whole year, and it happens to come first. That's the tricky part.
Well, and there's another tricky thing to a point you brought up, and it is very legitimate too, is the scary thing is if we win that game, but they lose to Michigan, then that is 3 years in a row for them losing to the hated rival. That's going to make the leash a lot shorter for Ryan Day, and you know who they would likely come after first.
You know what I've heard, Pete? When I've gotten to know some of these Ohio State guys, I went on one of their shows last Sunday, the Ohio podcast. They were saying Freeman doesn't have the credibility yet, even if he beat Ohio State and went 11-1 or made the playoff this year, that there's not enough meat on that bone for them to feel comfortable yet that they would do that. And they think Ryan Day's going to be around a while. They don't see him leaving, even though there's a lot of heat. But it doesn't seem like, and I agree, Freeman doesn't have enough credibility as a stable head coach yet for that. So I don't know if that's in place this year or what. What do you think, Pat?
No, I agree with that. I don't think Ryan Day is going anywhere. Even if Ryan Day goes 10-2, I don't think he's going anywhere. And even if a catastrophe happens or Ryan Day jumps the NFL, I don't think Freeman's their first choice.
Yeah, and Pat, who they would want? Luke Fickell. All those Ohio State,
for sure.
All those Ohio, and Pete, this for you too. When I was on that Ohio State show, they were saying what threw a monkey wrench in this is they would want Luke Fickell, and now that he's at Wisconsin, that kind of messes up that guaranteed go-to backup plan. The fact that he wants to build something at Wisconsin. So I think that's where they would have naturally pivoted to. And so I don't know, man, but I cannot deny the importance of that directional arrow the Ohio State game's going to be. But in a neutral vacuum, I'm picking USC as the most important of the big three every time.
I would agree.
Which is why it is. Which is why it is.
Yeah. Go ahead, Pete.
Some positives for that this year, too. I mean, last year, and for good reason, you felt bad for Chancey Stuckey more than anyone because the wide receiver room was bare. And he worked his tail off to build this wide receiver room. And last year, having a quarterback who couldn't throw the deep ball, who couldn't run super well, who had a lot of passes batted down, and who loved to throw the ball basically to one person without looking through progressions, with having a veteran quarterback who will spread the ball around, look through progressions, and not have the ball batted down, with a better receiver room, that alone should make our offense a lot better. And with that being the case, with you and I have spoken about, teams cannot stack the line against the run the way they have either.
Yeah. It should spread teams out, make them be a lot more honest. Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm really excited to see what a Notre Dame it's amazing to me how far we got and how many games we won being so limited on offense. Like nobody could tell me in recent Freeman and Kelly vintage, we've had an offense that you felt great about every week that could do it all, run the ball, throw the ball, whatever. It would be amazing to just see what this could look like with an offense that forces a defense to play honest. You want to creep up to stop the run? We'll burn you deep. You're going to play deep to prevent that? We're going to pound the ball on you. Like, we're not used to that kind of offense. And you know what I call that kind of offense? A normal, regular college offense. that can throw it and pass it. We are not used to that, and I can't wait to see what it's going to look like.
Something you also talked about is the growth from year 1 to year 2 with Freeman. Last year, a point you brought up was that he gave too much autonomy to Tommy Reese and Al Golden, with him being a first-year head coach. That may be why he was, quote-unquote, out-coached or whatever in a few games. This year, I think he'll have learned from that and think that's where it'll be growth by experience in that way.
Yeah.
Do you agree or disagree?
It's one of the bigger questions I have about Marcus Freeman year 2 is that evolvement, like him. I hope he has better controls on gauging what he has to be more involved with and what he needs to be. I don't know. Year 1 to year 2, I don't know how you measure it, but I expect more out of Freeman, either controlling his guys or directing his attention in different areas. But it's like, do you feel like Al Golden and Al Washington, like this year's a big year for those guys? If their units don't produce, they got to go. I feel that way about both Als. Am I out of pocket here?
No, I think you're right. I mean, last year, something Freeman also talked about is playing more of the young guys this year. Well, especially at the linebacker position, you have to, because the linebackers were not great last year. And you lose your best defensive lineman in Foskey, and you hope that Jordan Botello could have a great year because we need him to.
It's his time, man. And he's a big hitter. He's a stick big hitter, and it is his time. I have been so excited about his potential for so long. He has got to shine for Notre Dame to have the year we want him to have. Botello's got to be a killer out there. I need to see it.
Well, one thing, that also helped the team and the offense last year, too, were how many block punts we had, too, given the offense field position.
Hey, listen, man. Hey, Pete, I took a bunch of crap when we lost our special teams coordinator that I was in love with. When we lost him to the NFL, I did a show saying, Notre Dame fans, this is a bigger deal than you realize. Of all 3 units on the team last year, special teams was by far the most consistent in terms of making game-changing plays. And I don't want to see him drop back, but it's a big deal to me. I love what they did last year.
Well, and you remember what the guy you called Swamp Thing thought of the emphasis on special teams.
Yep. It just wasn't a priority for Kelly. And it showed at LSU. It wasn't a priority for him at LSU either. And that's why his special teams coordinator is now an athletic director at an unrelated school. Okay. Brian Polian. So he just didn't value special teams, didn't emphasize it. But that group was the most consistent all year last year of making winning plays.
Well, and also you remember too that Brian Mason and Freeman both believed it was important to have starters out there on the special teams unit too.
Yep. Get out there and have your best athletes making game-changing plays. Look at the Clemson game. That is what jump-started all of it. A block punt for a touchdown. And then you were at the game. I was at the game. That had us engaged, and we never stopped. That was it.
That kick-started the momentum for us, and we never gave it back.
Yep, that was it. Hey, Pete, let people know what's up with the ticket situation. I saw a couple chats of people saying Notre Dame's trying to minimize the Ohio State impact and that there's things they're doing to try and mitigate them getting in there. And I know you have a Shamrock package, right?
I would have, but actually, no, I didn't. I got all of my tickets through a friend, and that friend, through a friend of his, helped me get the Ohio State game.
There you
Last
go.
year, I bought the Shamrock Pass. I got all 6 games for $500. This year, the package that they have for what I understand anyway, is 5 games, which does not include the Ohio State game, for $500. And they must not be doing those anymore, because I saw that the USC game, in addition to the Ohio State game, are both sold out right now.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's just interesting the games they play and with their packages and what they release and hold on to, and then when and they do this Shamrock package, but it doesn't include the biggest home game. Do you feel like that's right or wrong that you buy that package? It doesn't even include the biggest home game.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like that should be the cherry on top, is having a ticket to the biggest home game, but you're going to be in there anyways. Pete, let me ask you what I asked the last caller. What is the minimal record that's going to make you feel like Notre Dame's trending up and you're feeling good about it? Is it 10-2, or is there a different number?
I'm thinking 10-2. We can't afford to have any dumb losses this year.
Yep.
And a big part of the season, which a point you've emphasized, and I'll very much agree with, you said before, we need to bubble wrap Hartman.
Yep. You got to make sure that guy's healthy. It's the number one key to the entire season. Like it's the number one key to everything, is you got to keep that guy in one damn piece and then see what we can work with here. It's the number one priority. And Pete, here's the problem. It's hard for me to look at last year neutral when we were playing from a deficit from 1.5 games on. You didn't have your starting quarterback. Everything else was messed up. Everything was a struggle from then on. And it's very, very hard for me to judge Freeman on that, knowing he was handcuffed so much. But the record's the record. You still got to win your games. But I acknowledge we were working from a deficit. It's very hard for me to reconcile that.
Yeah, and, well, let's face it. Let's hope that this does not happen. If Hartman gets hurt, we're back into an inexperienced starting quarterback again.
Yep, I don't even want to think about it. But if that happens, you're in the exact same position you were in last year, but just with different names. Like there is no, it's just going to be awful. Anything else on your mind, Pete? Really good catching up with you.
Oh, you too. I mean, well, as people know, most people know, not only do you do these great shows, but you do writing of articles, and to kind of get it out there for everybody. How great would it be for you if Notre Dame made the 4-team playoff and our matchup was against LSU? Would you be able to get a press pass to ask Swamp Thing a question?
I'm telling you what, if that happened, I would leverage USA Today. If I leverage Always Irish, it would get denied. But I would lean into the Irish Wire being linked into USA Today. That's what I would do. So if I did that, I wouldn't request the credential under Always Irish. I would request it under USA Today, and then we'll see what we could get. But it would be so much more interesting to be in a Kelly one than a Freeman one for me, just because I already know that guy doesn't like me personally. And it would just kind of be, I know he doesn't like me. And it would be a dream come true to be able to ask him a very sarcastic question in the pregame.
Oh man. I mean, well, like you said, he knows who you are too. And I mean, if you were to be able to raise your hand and ask a question, his face might cringe too.
It makes me happy to know Kelly knows who I am and he doesn't like me. That's all I'm going to tell you. It makes me very happy to know for a fact that guy knows who I am and he doesn't like me. I love it. I love that so much. It makes me feel, Pete, like I'm doing my job. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Well, not that you would get a straight answer for the question you asked, because you know he would give a political answer.
Oh, yeah. That's for sure. I mean, he's a politician through and through. That guy's ego's through the roof. Oh, man. Pete, it's good catching up with you, man. I'll see you next Sunday.
I can't wait. You and Mitch will definitely do a great job. And for anybody out there on the fence about making a decision on to go or not go, my recommendation is absolutely go. You will not regret it. Mitch will do a great job, and John will definitely you'll definitely entertain the crowd well.
Thanks a lot, Pete. Have a good one. We'll see you next week, brother.
You got it. And go Irish.
Go Irish. Have a good one. Now people want to know what this is about with Kelly. Here's how I know Kelly doesn't like me. I am friends with a lot of the ground crew that works at Notre Dame Stadium. Those are the guys who let me on the field. I go, I'm coming to campus. Can you let my family out there? And they let me in and we run around in the field. So I am very close with multiple guys that are on the Notre Dame grounds crew for this stadium. All right. And so those guys watch the show, whatever. And they told me they were walking around and they heard some of the coaching staff bitching about stuff. And they heard my name come up and they were mad, or Kelly was mad about something I was saying when he was still here. And then we had the issue of Kelly's fake burner Twitter account coming at me, and he thought it was logged out of his other account, but it wasn't. And people figured out that the guy arguing with me under this fake pseudonym name was somebody in Brian Kelly's camp. I know it wasn't him, but he has somebody doing that work for him is what it was. And I love that. That's fantastic. Crying Belly says that sounds like cap. That's no cap. No cap. I would love to interview Kelly. Could you imagine LSU and Notre Dame playing in a playoff game against Could you imagine the media explosion and buildup that would happen if a Brian Kelly LSU team was playing a Freeman Notre Dame team? That's unbelievable. 818. What's going on?
Just saying, you can't interview Kelly. He's literally right to the left of you. What are you talking about? He's right there. Pat, earlier, you look with that visor and the sunglasses on the visor. I'm like, this is a Tuesday Brian Kelly press conference. I mean, yes.
No visor.
Oh my God.
Visor.
I'm
It's a
watching this on
visor.
TV, like with a 5-second delay, so it's a little weird. I got the volume down, but I'm. Oh, all right, John. Listen, yesterday was my birthday, as you know. Pat, here's to you, man. I'm having a half a shot left right now. So here's to you. Happy birthday to me. John, I got a couple things.
Okay.
I think you're going to like this, man. I think you're going to like this.
All right.
I'm going to ask you a question. What would you rather have? And Patrick, you too. Would you rather have, and I'm going to give you some specifics here. This is going to be interesting. Would you rather have Ohio State victory, a 4-point Notre Dame victory over Ohio State, but we lose by 7 to USC and by 10 to Clemson? Or we lose by 17 to Ohio State, but we win the rest of our games, including USC and Clemson?
Lose by 17 to Ohio State.
Yeah.
I'll take 11-1 all day long.
Lose by 17 to Ohio State and win the other two by
You
far.
come back and beat those two. You're 11-1
Yep.
and you're in the playoff.
Yeah, by far. I would take the 2 wins easy, and I would just
All day
eat
long.
the embarrassment of the 17-point loss at home.
Okay, that's
But if-
really.
but
John,
if
that's
you're
really
gonna-
interesting, because guess what? I would take the first one.
Why?
In other words, we win every other game except for 2 games. We lose again because we haven't beaten Ohio State in 87 years. And the last 5 matchups, we've been beaten by double digits every time. I think it is so important. And let me go a little further. So we lose that by 4, or we win that game by 4. So we do win the game. We lose the USA by 7. Look, man, we've outplayed USC in the last decade. You and I both know that. In the Pete Carroll years, they owned us, but in the last decade, we've basically owned USC with the exception of last year.
Yeah.
And so I've seen.
But wait. But wait, though.
87 years,
wait.
John, 87 years.
Wait, I understand the frustration of the 87 years.
87 years.
I know, but I'm not willing. But I can't let the frustration of that one dynamic cloud my judgment to the point where I'm going to give up 2 other wins. That's my problem with your point. I can't let that singular frustration with that one team overcome my mind saying we got to beat USC and beat Clemson and then maybe be 11-1 or whatever.
So
I can't let that 87 years cloud my judgment.
Yeah, 87. Who cares? Who cares about the US? Like,
Okay, so I didn't expect you to be like ultimately one side or the other. I personally would take the first because of that. So we lose 2 games, but we beat Ohio State. Okay, we get that monkey off our back.
Rodney, you hate USC.
It is
you
not.
hate USC. How are you going to accept that?
We beat USC, John. We've handled that. We've done that. We've done that enough. I honestly think the meter goes. I honestly believe the momentum and the national stat. And again, I'm saying, assuming we win every other game, by the way.
Hold on.
11-1.
Hold on.
All right. Let's let Pat push back. Go ahead, Pat.
We're not. It's not like we're 0-87.
That's right. 17-point loss. You're not. I don't think you're letting that part sink in. We lose by 17 to Ohio State for the 6th time in a row. We lose by double digits. That's devastated, guys, to your recruiting momentum, to your national perception, to your. You're not thinking about that. You're just thinking in terms of, dude, this is
11-1.
You know what? I guarantee
11-1.
2 years later, people are looking back at that Ohio State as a major monumental victory. Also, Marcus Freeman went there. So you guys aren't thinking about that right now. I see the looks in your smoke face. You're not thinking about that. With all love. But you're not thinking about that right now, man.
But wait, all right, time out.
If I played Ohio State every year, I would care.
But they get a New Year's Day 6th victory.
But is it possible? Let me ask you this. Is it possible?
Right.
Are you open to the idea that you are overly obsessed with this Ohio State thing to the point that it's clouding your judgment of the overall big picture? All right. Yeah, at least you're open to the idea to admit that. I like that. I respect that shit out of that. I do. I respect that. I do. Yeah. No, at least you're realistic enough to admit it.
Here's the thing. That's the point, brother. That's the point. I think you're right. I actually agree with you, and I agree with Patrick's mannerisms on the rest of you. I actually agree with you. But what I'm saying is, am I alone here? There's got to be people that agree with me. Like, I get it, dude. I get it. Because Ohio State has done this to us so many times. I am almost more willing to take
So how many times? I don't even know.
One more game, but still get, we're still probably in the same sphere of like, And John, honestly, I do think in some ways that does raise our national. Let's just say we win in the year's 6th game that time. Let's say we get to a playoff by losing.
But wait.
We're going to win a New Year's Six game. No, I'd rather be in the playoff.
Wait a second, though. How you're talking about like the overall clout? Wouldn't beating 2 out of the big 3 automatically get us more clout than beating 1 of the big 3 by default?
But again, John, you're not including. You understand? There's one thing you're not looking at: 17-point loss to it, not just losing by 3. Because if that's the case, I'm taking that scenario.
Right.
I'll give you that. But I'm saying getting blown out again by the Midwestern champion, the number 1 at the top, Notre Dame, or I'm sorry, Ohio State, Michigan. Come on, we talked about this. We're number 3 right now in that 3-team, 3-headed monster. You know, we had the playoffs. We've been there, but even then, we weren't number 1. We were the second to Ohio State. Michigan was 3rd. Michigan overtook that number 1 spot. You got to give them credit. Last 2 years, they made that happen. Just being honest. So we're number 3 right now. So what is more important, beating the USC team? It's our rival, but we've beaten many times in the last 2 years, or getting that monkey off our back that I think would make a monumental. Maybe I'm exaggerating by saying monumental, but it would make a difference in national perception, in recruiting.
Rodney, I just can't swap 1 win out for 2 losses. I just can't make that work no matter what. I can't do it.
I'm talking about 1 versus 3, John. I'm not saying 1 loss versus 3. I'm saying you get 1 great win. Let's say Ohio State finishes in the top 3 in the country even after us beating them. So it's more than just what I'm saying. I guess I'm thinking about this more as I'm saying it. Like, I mean, I'm just saying if that was like, let's say Ohio State was in the playoffs, and let's say we're that 4th team now. We're that 4th team on the cusp because we beat Ohio State. Most likely, with 2 losses, we're not getting in that 4-team playoff. So I'll give you that.
Yeah.
So, but losing by 17 and beating the other 2, and yeah, man, if we get that 4th spot in the playoff, that gives us a chance to kind of have that revenge game against them, I guess. I'm just saying that's an interesting scenario. I don't think it's clear cut. I don't think it's one where it's absolutely clear cut, man. Again.
Yeah. It's really tough.
7 years, and yeah, it bothers me personally. You're right. It bothers me personally.
Every time I speak,
I got a lot of friends of mine who are Ohio State fans. They almost feel sorry for me. They feel sorry for me because they actually have respect for us, but we're like, man, you just can't beat us. It's kind of sad.
I do give you credit.
I'm not playing them 87 times.
Every time I speak to you, you bring this up, and you bring up John. Do you know the last time Notre Dame beat these guys? I appreciate your consistency, brother. You're all over it. I appreciate it. It's just
if this was like Navy,
what is messing this whole discussion up is the calendar. Ohio State being the first team of the big 3 on this list is what is challenging with this whole discussion. And the other thing is, if you beat Ohio State, then you feel like you could beat USC. If you could beat Ohio State, you should be able to think you can beat USC. It's like the old Rodney.
This is what I think is going to happen.
It's like
I think we're going to beat Ohio State. I think we're going to beat Ohio State.
Okay, but then wait, Rodney. Whoa, birthday boy. You're going to like where I'm going next, birthday boy.
Okay, all right.
Okay, you're going to like this. You'll get the reference. If you beat Ohio State, if we're looking at Notre Dame in a vacuum of the big 3, Ohio State, USC, Clemson. If you beat Ohio State, then I play the song, one thing leads to another. That's the idea here, Rodney. Yep. See, I knew you would. See, I knew you would appreciate that. But that's the idea, is that all these games are not in a vacuum where they stand alone. The idea would be if you beat Ohio State, there's no damn reason you can't beat USC and Clemson too. And that's why
Absolutely.
it's such a big
John,
damn
just
deal. Because it gives you
Let
that
me tell you,
arrow.
Look, I agree with you. Hey, I gave you a scenario. Let me tell you what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to beat Ohio State. I think it's going to be by the 4 points I mentioned. That's my early prediction, 35-31 Notre Dame over Ohio State. I think we're going to beat USC. I think it's going to be a crazy game, but I think we're going to win. I think we lose to Clemson this year. I really do, and I think we have another dumb loss. I think we have a stupid loss against a stupid team.
Yeah.
And I think we also lose to Clemson, but I think we beat Ohio State, and I think we beat USC. That was my early prediction. And we win the rest.
Man,
We'll see if I'm right. We'll see.
It's just, man, this is just for this year, this moment with the Notre Dame coach trying to find his way, all the loose ends and moving parts of all the years to land on a schedule with 3 marquee brand name teams. Like, this is it, baby. I cannot wait to see what this call-in show's like. When I do it Friday night before the Ohio State game, I'll take calls till the sun comes up. I just can't imagine what this is all going to be like.
You got to admit, though, man, ever since I put the emphasis on Ohio State the way I have, man, a lot of people have been agreeing how important I really believe this game is. I mean, for recruiting, it's going to be huge. For Marcus Freeman, John, it's huge. He lost to Ohio State last year out there in Columbus, and now that this is a huge game for Marcus Freeman, and he's got that. I mean, God bless him, man. I like the guy. I'm with you, John. I think we've always been, right there with what we think Marcus Freeman can be for Notre Dame. And Patrick, all due respect, man, you're right. You're right technically in what you said about him, but it is 1 year in. 1 year in. I mean, I like the trajectory, with the exception of USC. But again, Freeman did one thing Brian Kelly never could do. He didn't get blown out in any game last year. And that means something, man. He never got his ass handed to him. Brian Kelly loses that USC game by more than 3 touchdowns. The way that.
But wait. Hold on, Rodney.
Yeah. To be fair, I think losing to Marshall or Stanford is getting your ass handed to you.
Pat, you always complain about that even in the best Brian Kelly years, they ended with a blowout. Rodney does have a good point. Yeah. Freeman was in every game they played last year.
Yeah, but
what?
He lost to Marshall and USC, or Marshall and Stanford, 2 really bad teams. So did he get blown out? No, but he did get his ass handed to him by 2 really bad football teams.
Right, but that's a different discussion. But those are, you could say, Pat, but you could say
Kelly wins the Stanford and Marshall teams. I'll say that Kelly loses worse against USC.
Yeah,
and Kelly probably loses worse against Ohio State. So I'll say, so it's weird. It's like I'm agreeing that Kelly finds a way to lose 2 games last year, but Kelly also gets blown out in those Ohio State USC games. So I think Marcus Freeman, every game was competitive.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to Freeman, the Marshall and the Stanford game it's a result of inexperience in being the head coach, and
absolutely.
That's all it is. What I chalk it up to be. That's why I've said from the beginning that he's got more pressure on him as a second-year head coach of Notre Dame than probably anybody, at least in my lifetime, because of that. Because he has to show that I do think the recruiting is better than when Kelly was here, but he has to show that he can now coach this football team and not be in that situation where you have 2 slugs of a team come in and whip you up. You just can't. You can't do that.
Yep.
And he's got to show he can grow.
Yeah.
I agree, man. And I think that's why I believe. And Jonathan, you and I talked about this a little bit. I think Freeman has redirected his energies, and it doesn't. Guys, honestly, it's weird how it plays out, but it does play out, man. When you change your energy, there are downfalls from that. But again, I would rather see us lose a couple recruits that we would like to have if it means the coaching has equally gotten better. Does that make sense? because I think Freeman's going to out-recruit Kelly, but probably not by as much as we would like to see because of the limitations put on the ceiling of where we can go. But I think he's also, guys, here's the thing. I believe Marcus Freeman is a rising coach for his recruiter. I think that's what we've underestimated is where I think he's a young coach, guys. I mean, what is he, 37 or something like that? 36, 37 years old? 38? I don't know. What is he? Tell me. I don't know.
37 or 38, something like that. I know. I think he's a year younger than I am.
You're absolutely wrong. As a coach.
Yep. Nope. Hey, man, it's year 2, but it's year 1 in a lot of ways. And I take crap when I say that. It is year 1, a new ball game in a lot of ways. You got a quarterback you actually trust, and you can't underestimate what that changes.
By the way, I'm going to be there Sunday, man. I'm going to do, and I am in another, just like the blue gold game, man. I'm in another situation.
Wait a second. Pat, this is the guy, Pat, that called when we were on the toll road leaving the blue and gold game saying, John, I finally made it. Where are you guys? I hope you make it to the autograph signing before it's over.
You're going to be there, right, Pat? You're going to be there?
I plan on it. It's on my way home from where I'm at. So it's on the way.
See, but look at what happens. I got crying belly here saying, oh, look at John. Now he's saying 2022 never happened. Of course it happened. Of course I'm mad about it. Of course the Marshall and Stanford losses made me want to punch myself in the face. But you can't deny that the dynamics are so different this year. Starting with the most important position in football we feel good about. That is the biggest difference.
John,
and it changes the expectations.
Did you guys see the Mike Golick interview with Sam Hartman the other day?
I only saw clips on Twitter. I didn't see the whole thing.
It was good, man. It was really good. And I love Mike. I mean, Mike and Mike was like my favorite show almost of all time on the radio. But anyway, yeah, man, I'm a Sam Hartman fan. I think, man, if he great, I mean, he just looks the part, man. I mean, like him and Marcus Freeman and Brady, and if you throw Brady Quinn in there, I mean, you talk about like 3 guys who can sell a brand. I mean, seriously, dude. And I want him to succeed. And I like him. I like what I'm hearing from him. I like what I saw at the blue gold game. I like what I've seen of his highlights. I think this guy is, listen, man, I don't want to. Joe Burrow is, had one of the best ascensions ever in the history of college football. I'm not saying it's going to be that. I'm not saying that.
I think he had a lot more guys to throw to that you could rely on, that you knew what you were going to get.
But I'm just saying, in terms of where this year could go for him in terms of his status, it not Joe Burrow level, but on that level in terms of like a guy going from relative under the radar to major spotlight player. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Like a major spotlight player. He could be in New York, man, at the end of the year. I could see him finish there, man. I don't want to, I got a really good feeling about Sam Hartman. I think he's going to do great. Like I said, man, I'm going to predict an Ohio State and USC victory, a loss against Clemson, against a team that wants revenge, and I think a stupid loss in another game. But I don't think it's going to have anything to do with Sam Hartman. Remember, Carson Palmer won the Heisman, man, with 2 losses with the way his USC team played down the stretch. So I think it's possible that he'll get invited to New York, man. I think we got that kind of talent at quarterback, and this could change the perception of Notre Dame. This is a very important year, man. It's not even about winning a national title. It's about the perception and Marcus Freeman's coaching improvement from year 1.
Yeah.
I'm really on board, man. I think Freeman's going to prove a lot of people. I don't want to say prove a lot of people wrong. I think people have, I think it's a little bit like, hey, 9-4. They look good in the South Carolina game for the most part. I mean, that was throwing 2 interceptions for touchdowns and Notre Dame found a way to win that game. When does that ever happen, by the way?
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's some very big upsides to his coaching as well. And I agree, Pat. I think inexperience was because it was the reason for losses against Marshall and Stanford. But I was very encouraged by what I saw against Clemson, by what I saw against South Carolina. Even at times, as strange as it sounds, from what I saw in USC, because that was a game that everything went USC's way. Everything went their way. And they found a way to still somewhat be competitive in that game, in a game where Notre Dame, under Brian Kelly, would have been ran off the field that night. That would have been a Michigan type of loss in 2019. That would have been that kind of game. Freeman has shown me some things in coaching very early on. It's like, okay, after Stanford, Freeman's been a good coach. We'll see where it goes from here.
Yep. Nope. You have good points, man.
You
Good
know what I'm saying,
points.
John? Like that USC game, everything went against us. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying everything was going against us that night. The officiating, Caleb Williams, every time he spun like Michael Jackson, it was always spinning the right way at the right time. It was like that game was made for him.
And there was 87 holds that weren't called against us. But again, I don't want to make excuses.
But I counted 93.
But I don't want to make excuses. But when you say that, then people are going to say you're just making excuses. You didn't get it done.
No. We lost the game. But I was proud that Freeman found a way to make that game competitive on a night when we should have been ran off the field, and it was not our night, obviously. I'm just saying, and Michael Mayer, too, which is why it's just unbelievable that he wasn't the top 15 pick in the NFL.
Hey, we need to make it our night. We need to make it our night. Rodney, happy birthday. Hey, happy birthday, my friend. I really do hope I see you next Sunday. I hope I see you next Sunday, baby.
Guys, I'm going to be there Sunday. Pat, you going to be there Sunday? No, wait, you got what?
No, it's on my way home, so I'm planning on it. The question is whether or not I have the kids with me.
Bring your kids. Who cares? Come, Pat.
Lauren's not here right now. She's going to be here on the 3rd. So she's at Shania Twain, I think, right now. I don't know. She's at some concert in Tinley.
Well, you'll be there for the Central Michigan tailgate, obviously, right?
Yes, I will be there. My brothers are going to be there. My dad's going to be there. My wife and daughter are going to be there. So it's my daughter's first game. So yeah, I'll be there.
Man, that's going to be
wonderful. Yeah, I can't wait to meet you, man. I can't wait to meet you. Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, John, do everything I can to get out there on Sunday.
Beautiful, man.
You're not going to call us at
the times and everything, but I hope to see you, man. Hey, happy birthday, man. I'm glad you're thinking of Notre Dame on your birthday. Go have some fun. Don't think about Notre Dame.
Rodney, you're not going to call us in like the 3rd quarter and be like, where's your tailgate?
It's in our blood.
Yeah.
It's in our blood.
I know.
All right, man. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Take care, bud.
See ya.
Bye.
Oh, man. All right.
John, Rodney's going to call us in the 3rd quarter and be like, where's the tailgate at?
Yeah, I know. I felt so bad that we were gone by the time that happened. All right. We're going to do 7:03, and that might be it. We're over 8, 9, 10. We're over 3 hours already. 7:03, what's going on?
Hey, John. I've been wanting to call, but my work schedule, but I'm happy to call in tonight. This recruiting is giving me anxiety. And like, if we don't get Justin Scott, I'm really going to be crushed. Do you think that Marcus has the guts to fire Washington if like the D line isn't better than last year?
Man, it's really.
I know like the players don't like him, and we just got to recruit there.
I'm telling you, it's really interesting you bring that up. I think Marcus he's got to have a tight leash on some of these guys. I think this year is a prove it year for both the Als. And if they're not delivering on the field, Al Golden and Al Washington, if they're not delivering on the field and in recruiting, Marcus has some very tough decisions to make.
Do you think?
What do you think, Pat? Go ahead, Pat. What do you think?
I was gonna say I have more faith in Golden than Washington, but I wouldn't be surprised if Washington is gone and Golden stays and they chalk it up. I don't expect both of them to be gone if it doesn't work out after this season.
Yeah, I really hope we can see some of Snead and some of Bowen on the linebacker side because I really think that they can be game breakers. Like, I like JD and Jack Kaiser and what they've done, but they haven't shown me that they can be guys that can take Notre Dame to the next step and like win these big games.
Yeah, I just think I just think it's a big year, and I have questions about both of those guys in recruiting. Like, that's the issue. I have questions about their units on the field, but I also have questions in recruiting for both Al Golden and Al Washington. So if I have questions about both of those things, what are we doing here? So I do think it's a very critical year for both of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also for Marcus and Sam, like, do you think that, like, how many points do you think the offense should put up a game to win?
35.
I want 30. I want 38. Like, I'm serious.
35,
I want you to get up where those top 10 teams are, and I'm talking 38 points a game. I want the time of possession ramped up with Hartman, and I want the point output ramped up with Hartman.
If you're tied to time of possession, it's a little bit harder because time of possession doesn't always necessarily equal a lot of points. Scoring fast equals points. Time of possession.
But Pat, what it does do is protect your defense that we have a little anxiety about. The less time they're out there, the better, in my opinion.
Well, I agree, but if you're scoring 38 points, that means you're scoring on every drive to also control time of possession. And I just don't think that's a fair expectation.
I expect it to be better, though. I expect you're right, Pat. If we have an offense where Sam Hartman can hit Greathouse over the top or Merriweather and score in 38 seconds, God bless him, go for it. I'm not banking on that being the reality, but I think Notre Dame's going to have less 3 and outs, less dead drives. I just think we're going to have the ball more, and that helps the whole damn operation.
No, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was
we can
boring.
Wear down because if we can wear down USC's and Ohio State's defenses and play ball control, it'll give our defense more of a rest and more of a chance to be able to stop Caleb Williams, which we couldn't do because time just wasn't good enough for us to keep the ball.
That's where time is. So you beat USC 27-24.
I got a huge
38-35.
We're getting a huge thunderstorm. My sump pump's going off. I got to go hit the button here. Talk to him.
Is the snake in there?
Thunderstorm. I'm getting all this rain. Now my sump pump's acting up. I'll be right back.
All right. No, I think it's all about game plan, right? So when you played Navy,
Pat, I'm really getting excited about the news that Merriweather is being mentored by Tim Brown. Like, if we can get Merriweather to be good as Tim Brown and with Greathouse and all those guys, I don't know, man. I'm just really getting excited about this offense.
If you can get anybody to be as good as a Heisman Trophy winner, you're doing well. But I think to the earlier point of the points per game, if you're scoring, your average is set by the bad teams. You score 45 on Navy, you score 60 on the HBCU school. You score 50 on Central Michigan. But when you're playing USC, you're playing Ohio State. It's all about ball control. It's all about ball control, and that's where it comes down to. You keep Caleb Williams off the field. That's absolutely high. So you're not looking to win that game by 38 to 35. You're looking to win that game to 27-24 because you're not going to stop that guy from scoring. You're not. You got to keep him off the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. The defense is giving me anxiety about the year, which it's kind of the opposite of the Kelly years. The defense is giving me that anxiety, but I don't know if that offense can just keep the ball, then we have a great chance of winning. But I'm just hoping that our special teams can have at least a couple, maybe not as many because he's not there anymore, but if we can also just have a couple of the special teams plays, like a punt block, like we did in the Clemson game, then I feel like we have a they'll give us extra points against USC and against Ohio State that we can use and puts a little less pressure on the offense to score if the special teams gives them an extra points.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's a changing dynamic. I agree with you. Suddenly, I feel better about the offense and have questions about the defense, and that's not what I'm used to, especially in the Kelly era. It's going to be really interesting, man. I don't know what to expect. It's going to be very, very interesting. What else is on your mind? Anything?
I have some anxiety about Hartman's interceptions at Wake, but I don't know. Just our O-line protection gives me more hope about that. But it's still in the back of my mind. It's going to be there during the games.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, man. This is going to be one hell of a year. There's just a lot of moving parts and a lot of questions. All right, guys. My sump pump is beeping and it's pouring down rain and I don't want my basement to flood. I have to fight the anaconda that's probably in the tank here. I'm going to have to wrap up the show and go take care of this because it's bugging me in the same room.
John, do you know how sump pumps work?
Friend.
John, do you know how sub pumps work?
Thanks, John.
Appreciate
Always
it.
love coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat, for being a fun co-host.
For sure, man. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it. 815, I owe you an apology because I'm not going to be able to get to it. I don't know what's going on. We have a downpour out of nowhere. I took my headphones off. We had a big downpour, and now everything's going haywire down here, and I hear the backup sump pump beeping and all that. I got to go take care of that. Everybody, thank you for being here. Pat, thank you for sticking it out on your little trip here. I appreciate it very much, man. I got to fight this snake and then figure out what the hell's going on. Why is my backup beeping? I got problems.
That has nothing to do with the sub pump.
Yeah, well, that's a different story. That's snake. All right, that's going to be it. Pat, thanks for being here. Callers, thank you. Chatters, thank you. This is the beginning of the ramp up into the season, baby. Thank you to everybody. I love this show. I love this time slot. It's beautiful. Thank you to everybody. Have a good night.
Good night, all.